So good morning. We're calling the Board of Governors meeting to order. It is Monday, August the 15th, and we're starting at 8:37. With that, would you please call the roll?
Hildegard B. Aguinaldo. Here. Darius W. Anderson. Amy M. Costa. Joshua N. Elizondo.
Present.
Tom Epstein. Felicia Escobar Carrillo. Here. Jolina M. Grande. Here. Pamela Haynes.
Here.
Kevin J. Hall. Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis. Jennifer L. Perry. Bill Rawlings.
Present.
Roy Shabasian.
Here.
Valerie L. Shaw.
Here.
Blas Villalobos.
Here.
Joseph R. Williams.
Here.
President Haynes, quorum is established.
Thank you. And thank you so much for being here, board. This is a really important strategy session. So I've asked Member Shabasian to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So I'm going to start my president's report with several thank yous. The first one is to Ben Cheetah, Assistant to Governor. Say it again. Newsom, sorry. I was going to call him by his first name and I knew that would be inappropriate. I also want to thank our students, for which I've said before, and I'll say it again, if not for them, we would not be in these rooms. And to hear from them and to hear what they have to say in their own voices and based on their own experiences. And then I also want to thank our presenters today and everyone in the Chancellor's office who have made this retreat a possibility and an actuality. So I'll start with Executive Vice Chancellor Navarrete, Alvarado, and Hetz. You're going to be presenting. And I am excited about that. I'm also excited about the board members who are both on Zoom and here in this room, because this is an opportunity not just for us to listen, but for us to engage. And I see that as critically important in this moment and in this time. There's so much I could say, and I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. But when I think about the work that we have done over these last 6 years, we use an umbrella by saying the vision for success. What I would say is that there are 3 things that are critically important to the work that we all do. That it has to be student-centered, that it has to be equity-driven, and that it has to be guided by data. Those are the cornerstones. But when I think about the vision for success, I know that we start to talk about those goals in the front, meeting those goals, and the 2 that are critical in anything that we talk about, for me anyway, is closing the equity gaps. Whether they're in the regional areas where education is hard to come by in a way that adults and others need it, or whether we're talking about students of color and low-income students. Those are the 2 goals that I continue to keep foremost. But with that said, we don't always talk about the 7 commitments that we made 6 years ago. For me, it's the 7 commitments. We made commitments. Not only the Board of Governors, but the system made commitments. And so I want to just remind us, to anchor us in sort of why we're all here, and the promises that we made and the promises that we continue to need to keep. First is to focus relentlessly on students' end goals, and to always design and decide with the student in mind. The third one is to pair high expectations with high support. I remember several years ago, and it wasn't just one student or a few students. Every time I got into a room with students, they kept on saying, well, you know, we don't do optional. And we had designed our systems to say, oh, okay, y'all just choose. Choose what and how. And so we have to keep that part in mind, that we have to have high expectations. But it has to be paired with high support. The next one is near and dear to me because as a result of AB 705, I recognize that we had been doing something for 15 years that had nothing, was linked to not whether or not a student could succeed at all. And so there were smart people in the room that got some data and said, hey, this ain't working. And I think that's really, really important. So the fourth commitment is to foster the use of data, inquiry, to inquiry and evidence. The other is sometimes hard for us, I think, and it is to take ownership of the goals and performance, whether that's here on this board or whether it's on any one of our campuses. We have to all be in this together and we have to take ownership of it. If we don't, then no one else will. We have been a system in many cases that have been process driven. It's been, process has been queen, king, and it's not. What we found out during the pandemic, it doesn't take 10 months to go online. It took 2.5 weeks, took 3 weeks. Now we had to perfect it over time, but it didn't take us 3 years to go online. So I think that's a lesson that we need to continue to put before us. So yes, we need to be thoughtful. Yes, we need to talk among ourselves. Yes, we need to work out the kinks, but we cannot let the process drive us so far into something without outcomes, without action being taken. So we need to enable action and thoughtful innovation. We need to be fearless. We need to see the urgency of the moment and hold on to that because our students, our system requires that of us, of each one of us and for all of us as a system. And then finally, but not completely, we need to lead the work of partnering across systems. And I want to hold that one up because the partnership on the governor's roadmap is that partnering. It is this system taking the lead on connecting our colleges with academic success, but also with economic and career success. They are not exclusive of each other. And so we've already been given some of the things that we need to do. And so I want us, as we go through today, to make certain that we're keeping those commitments in mind. And with that, I want to turn this over to our chancellor.
Thank you, President Haynes. Good morning, board members. Good morning. Good morning, members who are joining us on Zoom and all of our colleagues who are here on virtually, but as well as in this room. I too want to begin with some gratitude to our students who will be joining us today, to Ben Chida, who is the Chief Deputy Cabinet Secretary to Governor Newsom, as well as the President of the Academic Senate, who's here in the audience today, Ginny May. I know today will not be a normal meeting. It will be a very different meeting. And so I want to really begin there. I want to acknowledge also that it is also not a typical day in our system. Today, for many of our campuses, it may happen to be the very first day of coming back to campus. But August and September will be that for our campuses. And so I want to make sure that we also acknowledge the faculty, the staff, the trustees, the student leaders who have been working on weekends, welcoming our students, having fairs. I've seen it all, virtual, in-person, community events with their local legislators. That is exactly the outreach that we should be doing during this pandemic. And it warms my heart to see how hard our campuses are working. So to our campuses, thank you for all of your hard work. Board members, today is not only unique, it happens to be also my first day as your interim chancellor. So thank you. And I wanted to thank you for this opportunity, the trust, the confidence that you have put in this team and the Chancellor's Office team. It is always a deep honor to work with all of them every single day. It really is, as Chancellor Oakley shared before he left, the most high functioning team that he had ever worked with. And I feel the same way about them as well. So let me start there because I want to make sure that we understand what is going to happen today and what this day means. You're in the middle of a transition. This system is in the middle of a transition. And today you are modeling to the system what trustees, what boards should be doing in the middle of a transition, taking ownership of progress, of outcomes, taking the moment to reflect on how far they have come and yet how much more work we need to do. That is what today is about. So the team behind the scenes has been working really hard to make sure that today is a successful day, but I wanted to acknowledge that it is not going to be a typical meeting. It is a moment to engage, and we have designed it so that those on Zoom can also engage with us. But it is also a day for many of us where we are reflecting on what inspires us to be here every single day and wake up every single morning. So like many of you, and thank you for sharing last night at your board dinner why you serve. I choose to serve because I am a product of California's community colleges. And I know that many of you know a lot about my childhood. I've shared that, I've been very open about that, but I want to talk about something that I don't get to talk about every single day. And I want to talk about that this morning because it's going to ground us for the rest of our day. Member Shalbazian was able to join me at LA Valley College, so he's heard me share this story, but my experience as a student is what inspires me every day. I know it is very different for our students today, but I start there because I emancipated when I was 16 from the foster care system. And when I was 15, I stepped foot on a community college for the first time. I was completely lost at LA Valley College. I didn't know that I had to enroll. I didn't know that I needed to go see a counselor. I didn't know that I needed to pay tuition. I didn't know any of those things. And I sat in a campus for hours, lost in a bench, until the groundskeeper came up to me and said, "Are you lost?" And it had been probably 3 hours of just sitting there with no one contacted me. And I think I was ready to just leave. And I was, I think I was telling myself, I'll just come back. I'll figure it out another day. But the groundskeeper came up to me, walked me all the way to the administration building, and in Spanish told me all about the campus. He even told me that I needed to enroll. He advised me on the best counselor, at least who he thought he had heard was the best counselor I should speak to. But that inspires me every day because I know how all of the stories of our students can end, right? Every story, you all have your own stories. They all have different characteristics, different characters, but we all have that one person that put us on the right path. And for me, this individual was one of them. And so I know how all of the stories can end for our students. They can end in having not only the first Latina, the first foster youth, the first low-income students, the first English learner, becoming the chancellor of the largest system of public higher education. So I believe that to be true for all of our students. And that's what this team also believes every single day. So today is a day where you are going to reflect. You've been a very courageous board for more than 5 years. This is the same board that helped bring and change history for the system. You hired the first Latino chancellor who created a vision in partnership with all of you, but this is your vision. This is your vision. That is the way the system sees it. That is the way their students see it. And they need your partnership more than ever. What's important about today too is that not only are you a board that has been courageous, compassionate, the way that I have seen you act during this pandemic and going to campuses, listening, bringing people together, reading all of your notes about wanting to continue to bring faculty together and staff together. That is exactly where we need to be. And you all bring that to the table because you bring your heart to the table and because you are the experts in this system and in the partnerships that we need to have in order to be successful. So today I want to focus on your courage, your compassion and commitment, and take it to the next level. We're going to start the day by talking about your why you all serve, what motivates you, what talents you bring to the table, and you're going to share them with each other. Why? Because it's going to make us a stronger team to get this system ready for the future. You're also going to get to hear from several of our own team members, but from Benchita from the governor's office on the bar has moved higher, right? We thought we had goals. The governor is asking us to do more, and we simply must be ready because the administration and the legislature have made a multi-year commitment to our students. And now we are the players that need to partner with the administration and our students to get there. I want to end my remarks by just sharing that as we head into that commitment, we also will lean in on where we need to go. If we really want every story to end in success, we have to do what we have been doing for the last 5 years. I've heard our president, Pamela Haynes, say it shouldn't take luck. You shouldn't have to meet that one nice person that helped you on a campus. It needs to be a structural transformation. And so as we head towards the end of the presentation, you'll hear from Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado, who will talk about some of those structures, but then ask all of you to join us to think about the future of where we need to head, both as we think about culture and transformation, but more importantly, what it's going to take to support our students, faculty, and staff to be the leaders in that transformation. I have heard a lot from all the different colleagues in our system, received a lot of different emails. And so I want to end this report by dedicating it to the students who have reached out, and then one specific student, but a mother who reached out. And I want to read you what she shared with me, because I think the stigma of what it means to be a community college student is still one of the most challenging things that we have to deal with collectively into the future. And so if you ask me today, what are your goals, Dr. Gonzalez? My goals are to support this board in ensuring that we can continue to advance the vision for success, whatever form it takes. My goals is to tackle the stigma, to eliminate the stigma of what it means to be a California community college student. And as we head into the next year, to make sure that we have the right partnerships to communicate our story, the stories of our students, their needs, and our progress. But I received one email from a parent who said the following to me, and it came in probably on the last day of the first week of the announcement. It's been a crazy 10 days, okay? So let me just close with this. It was a mother who shared with me, quote, "Our daughter, who we adopted after many years in the foster care system, has the same last name as you. I got to tell her all about you today. She was blown away, and we are both cheering for you." I share that because I think our students today, Californians today, need to hear that from all of you. And that is what you get to do today in this board meeting. You get to tell all the Californians that we are serving, those that we are not currently serving, and those that we will serve, that we are rooting for them, that we believe in their dreams, and they should too. So with that, I want to thank you for being here, and let's get started. So I want to ask our Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado to join us up here. Let me just check those online. Can you hear us well? All right. Well, this is a part of what it means to do our board meeting differently. We're going to put up a PowerPoint, but I want to make sure we don't get distracted by the PowerPoints, because this is very much about being here in this moment, having your laptops open, taking notes. We have a team in the back. Those of you online, you can't really see it, but we have a team in the back taking notes for you. So just stay in the moment. I'm gonna ask the team to pull up the PowerPoint and we're gonna get started there. This first section, we're gonna ask you to move around if you're here in person. For those online, you'll join us. We're gonna engage you online. But I wanna start us here. You have your board strategy session and goals. And I wanna thank President Haynes, Vice President Costa for working behind the scenes. We probably debated this agenda for about a month and a half.
Yeah, at least.
And, and I mentioned that because this is where we landed, right? You were in a moment of transition. We were thinking about how we prepare you for the future. And it was Vice President Costa who said, I want to make sure that we have a baseline for the priorities of all of our board members and understand their motivations. And that became a pivotal starting point for how all of you would come together. So you see that as one of our strategy session goals, giving you the space, the room to do this. The second part of the conversation was our board leadership, and some of you express in your surveys, we want to better understand demographics, labor markets, where are we? So you see that as your second goal, to engage in a conversation about the evolving landscape for our system, including student voices, demographics, labor market, and societal shifts in order to design with our students in mind. So you wanted to understand basically baseline, where are we in progress and what is changing around us? And then lastly, our board president wanted to make sure that we're providing an opportunity for the Board of Governors to consider and discuss their oversight, their support roles in advancing the goals of the Vision for Success, but more importantly, the governor's higher education roadmap for the future. How were the two aligned? How were they divergent? And that became the starting point for today. Any questions about our strategy session goals for the day? All right. We're gonna get better at engaging. And those on Zoom, just unmute. Next slide, please. I'm gonna pause here because you were still quiet, even though we said it was a different meeting. So we're gonna keep practicing, but I wanna make sure I pause here and dig in on this. This is a discussion. I know it's going to take you some time to unlearn the dynamics of our regular meetings, but this is a discussion. We need you to ask questions. When they emerge, we don't need to wait until the end. So and the team is ready. We're also ready to have the hard conversations. And that's really important because that's what today is about. So your personal why, your expertise, all of the partnerships that you bring from your work site, those are valuable today. So don't be afraid to probe. Most likely our answer will be, it's in the education code, okay? It doesn't mean it's impossible because that's what this board has proven already. In the last 5 years, in the last 2 years, actually, since the pandemic started, you all have adopted 22 regulations. That is structural change. So saying that it's in the education code is not a good excuse. And then lastly, we are asking that today is really an opportunity for you to have a statewide lens, right? And having this lens as a board allows you to focus on structural transformations. But while we have a common vision, today we're going to be asking you to think about the opportunities ahead, right? What are the opportunities? As President Haynes shared with you today, we have goals, but more importantly, we have commitments. So today, while we want you to think about that vision, we really need you to focus on the opportunities ahead. All right, team, let's keep going. We're gonna let Marty get some water. You all had an opportunity to fill out a survey. So let me tell you a little bit about the survey because that's what this first section is all about. If we could head to our next slide, please. The first part of your presentation is really your why. There was a survey sent to all of our board members. We did several reminders, and there were 8 of you who responded. Some of you were also able to then respond via email. That's going to be the baseline for your activities today. All to say that if you didn't get to fill out that survey, no problem. That is why we're going to do it as partners. We're going to provide the space, okay? But I wanted you to see what your other colleagues had also shared, especially because some of the colleagues that did fill it out are not able to be here, but their responses are here with us today through those survey responses. So next slide, please. As we get started, I wanted to make sure that I had this slide for you because one, I forgot to congratulate you on your new ACCT award, which is a national award honoring this board for your equity work, for your commitment to equitable outcomes. And I want to make sure that I acknowledge all of you. The league was also a really big partner in nominating this board. So as we get started, I want you to think about your time, your energy, your expertise, why you serve on this board. These are your colleagues. And even though they couldn't be here, I know that in their responses, you're going to get to identify and think about those moments where you said, oh, I remember talking to so-and-so, that's so-and-so. We removed names from all of the responses, just so you know, on purpose, because what we wanted to focus on was really the major themes of this board. Where was this board aligned? So let's head into your first activity. We asked you a set of 5 different questions, and they were all related to your why. So next slide, please. The 5 questions we asked you were really to understand what motivates you as human beings, as board members. What do you all think are the priorities? And as we head into this activity that's coming up, we wanted to establish your baseline or your motivations, how you all want to work together, what are the priorities that you have identified, and then give you the space. So for this activity that we're going to head into very shortly, we are going to ask you to get into teams. You're going to get the opportunity to get up from your chair for the next hour. And so let's head there. I actually want to go to slide number 9, please, behind the scenes team. And we asked you your first question. Next slide. Why do you choose to serve as a California Community Colleges Board of Governor member? Let me read you some of these out loud. To support the most inspiring avenue students have to advance the lives of their families, communities, and themselves. To provide input into policies and practices impacting California community colleges. To be a part of a process that enhances society. To contribute and give as much as the system has given me. To contribute to the development of an environment and culture at colleges where students can ideate and begin the path to becoming the best version of themselves. So while all of you represent different stakeholder groups, some of you are trustees, faculty, classified members, community members, and some of these responses, you're already seeing some of the themes, and those themes are really motivated by your own sense of public service, as well as your connection to the system. Next slide, please. You also see your colleagues, same question, right? There were 8 of you who responded. Some of the other responses were to improve opportunities for all Californians, to give back to the system that I am a product of. So we have some proud alums on this board. To be a part of a board that effectuates a truly inclusive, united, and just society. That's about the function of higher education, education as a part of a healthy democracy. And then lastly, to contribute to the mission of California Community Colleges, which serves everyone and can provide access to higher education or career technical education. So a deep pride in being a part of this board, part of community colleges, and in your public service. But we wanted to ask you to get you warmed up before you get up. What are the themes that you observe from these responses? So let me pause here.
Very altruistic, I think. It's about giving, right? It's about contributing to others' betterment.
I'd say self-actualization. The world is our oyster, and that's not exclusive of any student.
I was thinking reciprocity. You
Say
know,
more.
people felt like the system did something for them, and so they want to give back.
Member Villalobos, Perry, Shaw.
I would say service. Every response focuses on serving others and improving a system that allows others to thrive.
I would say leveling the playing field. As Eli used to like to say, the colleges serve 100% of Californians, and education is the gateway for anyone to realize their potential and resilience. So being able to be part of an organization that serves the entire state and serves a model for the nation, it's an honor, and it's an incredible charge that we have. That it's a privilege.
I say service also.
Strong theme of service, and I think just the humility that you all have to want to contribute and serve in this system. So thank you. So we want to get you moving. So next slide. These are your partnerships. For those online, we are going to be putting member Villalobos, Shaw, and Perry. You'll remain online. If we could go to the next slide, please. And then here in this room, President Haynes, you have your partner. If you can look up there, Member Shabazian. And here's your activity. We're going to give you about 4 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, because we have those online that have 3 different partners, right? 3 people. And here's what we're asking you to do. So we just kind of did the think out loud, right? We looked at themes, but now I want you to share your why with your partner. So meet your assigned partner, take turns discussing your personal motivations to serve, focus on each other, switch off, right? And then listen carefully, because you're going to be introducing your partner. That is the point of the activity. Be prepared to summarize what motivates your partner. All right, so I'm going to start the timer.
Because of audio feedback, we'll be muting this meeting room and we'll report back all details when the breakout session concludes.
Yeah, anywhere you want.
Please be advised that the meeting will remain live and our public will stay on Zoom. Thank you.
All right, we talked about-
So members online participating virtually, you go ahead and unmute yourselves. We just wanted you to be aware that the public will be able to hear your responses live. A little confusing, apologies.
No pressure. Okay. So let's talk about the weather. What do you think?
Very hot here, very hot.
That depends on which time zone you're focusing on.
Where are you, Les?
I'm home this week.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm taking off tomorrow again. And I just came back Friday, I think, from Nashville.
Okay.
So, yeah, all over the place.
So this is great. I'm just gonna go get a pen because I have no memory anymore. So someone else start. I can hear you, but I just have no memory anymore. So I'm gonna get a pen.
Okay,
You want to start, Blas? I'll just interview you.
that works.
Okay, so it says discuss your personal motivations. So I'm here to, I'm here to listen. What
Yeah,
motivation regarding this board?
When I actually, right before I left the Marine Corps, I remember driving around. I was going to the mall, I think, and I drove right by Long Beach City College. And I remember thinking to myself, well, I have to leave the military because my brother had just enlisted and we were not going to put our parents through 2 sons, serving in combat together. And so that's the reason I left the military. But I remember thinking, if I'm going to leave the military and I'm going back to school, this is where I want to go. I had never set foot in the college. I just saw the outside. And I don't know what attracted me to it, but I remember thinking very clearly about going to Long Beach City College and starting my academic career there. So that's where I started. Back then, there were no veteran resource centers on campus. And so the certifying official was a retired Air Force individual. And then Dr. Mike McCollum also worked on campus, and he's a veteran. And so I remember registering for classes, and same experience as our chancellor, where, you walk around and nobody really talks to you or offers help. And I think I just, didn't ask for any help either, but long story short, I ended up registering for classes. Jesus Bazua, who's the work study student, a Marine Corps veteran as well, is one who helped me with that. And I remember thinking, this is not for me, right? I went to my first class, and it's a history class, and we were asked to create a blog. And having been in the military from 99 to 2003, when all these new technological advances took place, I had no idea what a blog was. And so that terrified me. And I remember going back to him and saying, you know, I'm dropping all my classes, I'm re-enlisting. And so he set me down, had a great conversation with me, and helped me drop that class and a couple other classes just to get me to some classes that would help me get my feet wet. And that's you know, that's where it all began for me. I wouldn't be where I am now if it weren't for Long Beach City College and for the support that I received from Jesus Bazua, you know, Frank Mangiavar, who was a certifying official as well at the time, and Alan, who's a retired Air Force guy, who helped me out too. And I saw that from that point on throughout my entire time at Long Beach City College. And I think people take for granted the drive that community colleges or community college students have. And I want to be able to share that story with those who think that, you know, one, you can't make it, you know, or that community college is not the right place to start. I think it is. And there are tens of thousands of us out there who are a great example of it. And so that's really what motivates me to get back and serve on the board.
Right. Okay. Member Villalobos, do you want to interview Member Perry and then Member Perry, Member Shaw?
That works. So Valerie, or I'm sorry, Jennifer. So what
We look
motivates
just
you
alike.
to serve? There you go.
So a couple of things. Our two daughters are adopted from foster care. And, you know, like many young people in foster care, they were behind educationally when they came to live with us because they'd had a chaotic home life. They switched schools, all the things that are unfortunately pretty typical for youth in foster care. And we watched as our older daughter got her standing again as we moved her through grade school and high school. But we knew in high school that she wanted to go to college. And we kind of knew that a 4-year institution might overwhelm her. Because she wasn't really playing catch up anymore, but I think it seemed like a daunting prospect. And that's even for a person with family support and you know, the things that we could bring to the table as her parents. And she ended up going to Santa Monica Community College, and it was the absolutely perfect way for her to begin pursuing higher education in a way that was accessible and manageable for her. And it saved her, I think. And she ended up transferring to UC Davis. And so she's the first person in her biological family to ever go to college. And I think that, you know, going to the community college is the thing that paved the path for her to have that remarkable achievement. And then in my work, I work with youth in foster care, and I interact with them on a regular basis at an event that we do that helps to provide them with services and supplies and necessities. And to a person, every time I'm there, I see youth after youth after youth who is going to community college and is being set on the right path to pursue higher education in a way that they never would have before. And the stat you hear frequently is about 10% of youth in foster care try to pursue higher education, and about 3% make it through. And part of why I'm here is to make that 3%, you know, 30, 40, 50%, because that shouldn't be happening. Because, you know, it's said too often, but education is the path out of poverty and to success for these youth and all the youth we serve.
Yeah.
Did you say that only 3% of the foster youth that attend community college actually graduate from it?
Overall college.
wow.
Not,
Thank you.
community college is higher because, and we actually have put into place and just expanded some really great support systems. Next up is a real asset for these youth, and it's just been expanded, which is great. There's about 30,000 foster youth in the community colleges, but they come in with struggles and education deficits, and as I say all the time, all the other pressures that are on them. I always say, many of our youth, including the former foster youth, are one flat tire, or one missed car payment, or whatever it is, away from dropping out. So, okay, Ms. Shaw, would you like
All
to
right.
talk about your personal motivation to serve?
Well, I've had the opportunity to be educated in all of the systems. I started out at UC Santa Barbara 50 years ago. I went to UCLA. Then I took some courses at LA Southwest College. I graduated from Cal State. Then I got my master's degree at USC. So I've had the sort of the broad spectrum of private and public education. So I sort of agree with you, Jennifer, that, basically this system, particularly for me, African-American students, is the best way for upward mobility. And I think, in fact, I can't think of any other system that helps people more than the college system, community college system. So I also, now that I'm retired, I'm on 5 different boards, and they all have differing sort of subject areas. One is a fund that focuses on the medical community. We fund hospitals and clinics. Another focuses on workforce development, working to help get at-risk, primarily Latino and African-American men into the construction industry. Another one is 211, which is a social service agency. Another one is a political agency, and then this community college board. So I'm involved primarily because public services is a family tradition also. My parents, grandparents, all the way back. I'm a family historian, all the way back that I can trace. I've always believed in helping others and moving forward the group. And so that's another reason why I'm a part of this process. That's it.
Now, did you go to UCLA first and then USC?
No, I went to, well, yeah, I went to UC Santa Barbara for 3 years. Then I went to UCLA for like about a year. And I was working during the whole time. Then I took classes at Southwest. Then I went to Cal State and graduated. This is all during my 20s. And then I went to USC in my late 20s and got a master's degree in public administration.
Thanks. Same trajectory for me.
Oh, okay.
Long Beach City College, Cal State Long Beach, and then both my master's and my doctorate at USC.
Okay, great. So that's kind of that's my thing.
I like it. So before we go back, I know this isn't part of it, but I think Daisy alluded to it. One of the things that keeps me going too is it annoys me that the community colleges are still a teeny bit in the shadow of the UCs and the state, the Cal States. That's something long-term. It frustrates me, given they have the capacity to educate every single Californian. They're accessible to everyone. So I think I'm getting off topic, but as part of our larger charge as a board, I'd love to see us, looking at that issue, because it impacts the community colleges in ways that, are tangible and intangible.
I agree. I think we should be dominant and not the UCs. I mean, we help 4 or 5 times more students than they do, right? And the people we help, I think, have more impact on the lives of people in general.
Well, if you think about it.
Individual impact.
Well,
Uh-huh.
and also they're the nurses and the firefighters, and they really do.
I love
I mean, they're-
So it looks like our group is back together.
Are you reporting out?
Yeah, I know. We didn't want to interrupt. But with that said, welcome back. And Member Perry, I think you're actually not off topic, very much on topic. We're going to start with our team that is virtual. And so each of you will have 30 seconds to introduce your partner. In case you get nervous or lost, we put up 2 questions on here for you to think about. What motivates your partner to serve? How does their personal why relate to the themes that we identified? So themes of pride, service, a commitment to all of California. So our members online, maybe I see member Blas Villalobos, who just turned on his camera. Would you like to introduce your partner?
Yes, I can go ahead and do that. So I interviewed Member Perry. So Member Perry has 2 daughters who were adopted from the foster care system. And she mentioned that, there were some academic challenges, as there often is, unfortunately, with children and young adults in the foster care system. And so she believed that a 4-year university or 4-year college may be a bit overwhelming for one of her daughters. And so her daughter actually started college at Santa Monica, which happened to be one of the best decisions she could have made. Member Perry has a personal connection to the foster care system. She works with foster youth. And one thing she mentioned that to me that was shocking, and I apologize for not knowing this, but she explained that only 3% of foster youth who attend college actually make it through. And she wants to change that statistic. She wants to increase that percentage and make a difference that way as well.
Thank you, Member Villalobos. Member Perry, would you like to go next?
Yes, I think I interviewed Member Shaw.
Yeah.
It was quite the intensive interview, kind of like 60 minutes. Member Shaw has a long storied career in public service. It runs deep in her family. I know a lot of what she's done in terms of giving back to LA, and she serves on a variety of boards, most of which are devoted to improving public life, improving outcomes for Latino and African-American students. So joining the Community College Board fits right in with her long career in public service, her devotion to equitable outcomes for these youth. And I think the ability to serve in a system that has the greatest impact of any educational system in the state. And did I leave anything out, Member Shaw?
No, that was beautiful. Thank you, Jennifer.
Sure.
And let me just quickly spend 10 seconds talking about Blas. I mean, he's had just an extraordinary life and career and accomplishment. But he started out in the Marines, and then his educational trajectory was extraordinary because he went to, I think it was Long Beach Community College.
That's right.
Then he went to Cal State. Then he went to USC and got his master's degree and also his PhD. So he is a product of the community college system, and certainly one of the outstanding products of the system. So I think basically that's his story.
Thank you. Thank
He's
you,
got
Member
a
Shaw.
shining bright light.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Who would like to go next?
Team 2, right? Here we
Team
go.
2, okay.
I'll jump in. So like me, Joshua Elizondo is my partner here. And like me, he is a product of the community college system, which is great. We're both proud of that. The thing I didn't realize with Joshua, though, was that he had started in 2014, 2015 in the system, and then kind of stopped out, right? And came back in 2017, just as the Vision for Success had been adopted. And so one of the things that he was able to do, and what really motivated him, was as he came back in as a student leader, he was able to see the transformation that was beginning to occur and then contribute to it by serving on a variety of governance committees and implementation committees for things like guided pathways in that work, as well as what he was doing locally at his college at Santa Monica College. And so he was able to take his student perspective and his prior experience and really bring it to the discussion on this implementation. And he's seen that level of implementation and what it's taken to get to where we're at. He experienced the benefits of that as a student. And he also, because of that, sees what the opportunities are moving forward to continue this path of innovation and that creativity and wanting to make sure that we're meeting students where they are, really being able to serve, especially foster youth, which some of the work he's doing at Pepperdine right now, is really the driver. So really making sure that we're being mindful and really meeting students where they're at and making sure that we're providing that high level of service that we need to.
If you want to feel really humbled, I'd say have Bill do your bio. That was incredible. Very impressive.
As you know, I have Member Rawlings as my partner, and he is also a product of the system. And he was sharing with me how he naturally progressed from this role and just taking on leadership through the labor unions and then coming into being in this role through guiding principles. And one of those that really stood out to me, or the one that stood out to me, was being a voice and providing a space to transform the system inequities there that exist in our system, and allowing access to the vast diversity that our communities offer, allowing himself to be the conduit and the vessel for those that may not have the space to be able to speak on their behalf, and not only speaking for them in some instances, but being the space for them to speak here through him. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
I'll go.
I was privileged to be partnered with Felicia Escobar Carrillo, and much like you had mentioned from Bill's perspective, when we look at Felicia's perspective, it's what the community college can do to our community, specifically our immigrant communities and those that have immigration status concerns, and wondering what can they do to propel themselves in life. And the foundation, of course, is the community college, for which her mother started, which gives her an incredible appreciation for the work that we do and the opportunities that we can provide.
Thank you, Jolena. And so I'll talk about Jolena. So we were talking about her personal connection to the community college system, which she's been in and around since the 1980s. You know, she started with taking classes, joining with her mom in classes while her mom was getting her AA. She was in high school and she was, you know, taking classes at the same time. And for her, given that perspective, it's really, the community college system is really like, is home to her, right? And now, you know, she's served, obviously, as we know, in so many different capacities that are beyond just the student capacity, as faculty, as a support system, and as a representative here on our board. So we talked a lot about what motivates her. When she started in the board, she had a few priorities that we've been able to kind of, that she's been able to get involved in. But as we think about the future and moving forward, we talked a lot about, you know, those that have fallen out of the system as a result of COVID in the last couple of years, and how there are certain folks that we've been able to reach and start to communicate with, and hopefully either they've gotten back into the system or they're about to, right? But there's that population of people who are really, are harder to reach. We haven't been able to find them. They're transient. Maybe we don't have a phone number for them or an email anymore because of the kind of vulnerabilities that they're experiencing financially, you know, in other capacities. And so thinking about how we can try to reach those populations through creative strategies, you know, getting out there in the community, which our folks already are out in the community more so than any probably, you know, college system. But, you know, I think figuring out how we can reach those populations is something I know Jolene is very interested in. I think we all are, but yeah.
Yes, thank you.
I can go next. So I took note taking in College 101, so we'll see how it goes. Member Aguinaldo's story is, in summary, summing it up, is about equity and justice. She's a second generation American. her a granddaughter of two teachers, of Filipino descent. And her parents, their path really was set for them. They really didn't have options to go and dream and just really think about, well, what they want to do. And they really instilled that in her to really be able to, have that opportunity to dream. And her work has been about, creating opportunities for justice and just being able to repay the sacrifices that her parents made. And then specifically her grandfather, she learned that he really instilled this sense of justice. And she serves as general counsel. And I just really appreciate the fact that as busy as she is, she's taken her skill set to bring in the whole idea of improving the student experience, and specifically like coaching her nephew who got accepted into Pasadena City College, and really just thinking about how it's an honor and how, community college can be, a pathway for success and, different things that they want to do. And again, like her work and her body, or the thing that motivates her, is just when she sees injustices to be able to correct it and set it straight. And that's what I learned about her today.
I'm going to say this to my nephew, Anthony, if you're watching, I'm watching you, son. You're inspiring a lot of my work today, and I am very appreciative. I had the honor of interviewing Member Williams. The strongest thread through his entire biography of the themes that we talked about this morning was public service. And he answered that call very early. He was a student at a community colleges when he realized there was an issue requiring advocacy. And he stepped into that role at the encouragement of his classmates, and then started an entire career in public service. So his priority is to duplicate the positive experience and to remove the barriers that he encountered during that educational experience, and just to give back as a product of the system. Like many of us, he was inspired by his mom and the entire community, and taking that inspiration to work on things like economic mobility. As we know, he's a great ZTC advocate, and I'm sure that comes from his experience, the totality of his lived experience. So he shared with me a personal philosophy of the world is a circle. What you give will come back to you. I think that will stick with me for a very long time. So thank you for the opportunity to learn about you, Member Williams.
Thank you.
So last but not least, I interviewed Josephat Shabazi, and part of us know his story. And so many of our stories go back generations. And so his story goes back generations to his great granddad, who was Armenian, but found himself in Iran because Iran at the time was safer than Armenia was. And he found himself on the streets learning. And there's a lot that we can learn on the streets. And what that brought for me was so many of our students learn a lot on the streets that inform how they present themselves in our classes. It was his dad who came to the United States, specifically right out of high school, because his father had said, you got to get an education. And again, that resonates through so many. Somebody is telling us we need to get an education, or we see that we do. And so he came and he found Citrus Community College. And in finding Citrus Community College, it allowed him to go on and to be accepted at UC Berkeley. And in 2 generations, his story is just so epitomizes our students and our students' journey. So he started off learning and graduating as an electrical engineer. I think that was right, an electrical engineer. Ended up an oncologist, a doctor. What a story, what a journey. And so we now have Joe, who has heard these stories and say, okay, now it's my turn, and my turn is to go to Citrus and to follow in his father's footsteps and become an electrical engineer. But when I asked him, I said, tell me what you're teaching. He's a math teacher. And so again, sometimes it is in the journey that we find ourselves, and in that journey, we can have multiple lives. And so thank you for sharing your journey and your story.
In our conversation, it seemed like one of the themes was just the generations coming from a struggle, and in President Heen's case, 6 generations coming out of slavery in South Carolina and Georgia, if I remember right. But just seeing how families advance, or people advance from very challenging circumstances. And then in terms of how this relates to current work, she was in I think the first class of 30 Black students in a parochial school. And she described it as feeling at the same time isolated, but also good to be to have a sense of a larger group. And also growing up in the civil rights movement, and just hearing about all of those stories and news. My perception of how that translates to her work now is just an exceptional commitment to equity. So.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing with each other. And you know, I'm glad you're growing into the space, because you also just shared it with the entire system and many people who will be watching this. And that's really powerful. How did you feel to get to know your colleagues?
It's good.
Good,
It's
good.
good.
We needed an hour with each other though.
Absolutely. I was gonna
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we get to do that on the margins, the meetings that we
Yeah.
have, and that we, you know, we used to have dinners. I mean, my first few
Yeah.
board meetings, we were in person, so we had dinners and ways to informally talk to each other. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that as much, right, with the COVID situation. So I think it was really good to have some of that personal time. And usually I know we're just trying to get through the meeting, and there's always a lot of business before us. So I appreciated having that time and that space to just talk to each other.
But I think, to me, one of the things that stands out with this, I mean, I love the sense of unity that this fosters. And I think one of the things that a lot of folks in the public don't always realize is that between meetings, we really don't talk with each other, right? I mean, we have Bagley-Keene rules, and we're really very diligent about observing those things. And so the communication between board members, between gatherings like this, is almost zero. And the fact that we will be able to get a chance to talk kind of on the margins as we have meals and closed session and things like that, most of what we know about each other is from the issues that we care about and we talk about during our public session, right?
Exactly.
We can peg what people care about because of the dialogue we have during our meetings, but then actually being able to take some time right now and understand what goes behind that passion that we bring in the public meetings, I think adds a lot of perspective that we don't always get.
That's a really good point.
And it strengthens our individual stories. You know, I'm talking to Member Williams, understanding the first time he felt this call to action, wondering, when did I first feel the call to action? You know, who was that influenced by? So I appreciate how the collective stories actually strengthen our own.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, this was the easy part. We're heading into the hard part. And we needed to start there, because this is the work that we are asking our colleagues at colleges and districts to do. We are asking them to dream, to rethink all of their structures, dismantle and create. And you cannot begin this work without respecting individuals and treating them with dignity. And so thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing that piece. I heard a lot about this work being personal to many of you. I heard that it is your mission. And I hear that it gives you purpose in life. And I love that, Member Williams. I wrote it down, what Member Aguinaldo shared. The world is a circle, it will come back to you. So in the spirit of coming back to us, we're going to ask you to dream, to think about what's next. And I want to hand it over to our Executive Vice Chancellor Marty Alvarado, who's going to walk us through the next part of this work, your collective work. And it's really focused on the last 3 questions of the survey that we gave you. So we're going to take that personal why, your motivation, to now guide it through impact and opportunity, right? It's not just about having conversations, it's targeted conversations that center our students in our work.
Great, thank you, Chancellor Gonzalez. I'm going to keep us moving just in the interest of time. So next slide, please. I want to remind folks of the 3 survey questions that really focused on what progress has been made to date from your perspective. What has been the impact of the Vision for Success? And part of what we are hoping you do as you navigate the different stations, really reflecting on the responses from your colleagues, as well as your own thoughts on this topic, is to really think about how all of this context should be used to inform where we are going next. All right, so what has been the progress, the impact that we want to hold on to and continue and leverage? What are a couple of areas that are most concerning for you? Where do you think we need to double down? Where do we need to surface priorities? As well as we look to the future, where are those opportunities? Where are some green grass that we need to leverage and lean into and water, as we go forward? One of the things, as we transition, what we're gonna do is have you all stand up and get into small groups and go from station to station, and folks online, you'll also be able to group together and move through this. I had a really amazing mentor, though I want to share this with you because I think this moment has been powerful for all the reasons you noted. She used to say to us, remember, we work well with everyone. We work really well with the people we like, right? And so figuring out how we build authentic connections as we think about leading transformation is incredibly critical. And so as you're have the opportunity throughout today to get into teams, to work with one another, to build those connections, right? Leaning into that, how are we sharing priorities so that as we think about the hard work ahead, that we're able to leverage one another and lean on one another as we navigate those moments. So with that, next slide, please. Want you to see your teams. I will slow down to make sure that they get the instructions super clear. 3 groups, 2 in person, 1 virtual. You'll notice around the room, there are 3 stations. For the folks online, you will have these visuals available to you online in the PowerPoint. What we are going to do is give you roughly 4 minutes at each station. I know, not a lot of time, to take a look at your colleagues' comments around those 3 survey questions: opportunity, areas of concern, progress and impact to date. Note some of the common themes, areas of divergence, insights. Just make notes, have a brief discussion if time permits, and be prepared to circle back and reflect on your thoughts after you walk around. Because we want to give you, oh, please.
So I feel like we're a little ahead of schedule, right? Am I wrong? Okay, am I looking at the time right? I'm looking at the wrong agenda. Okay, all right. I was wondering if we could have a few more minutes per session, per station if we were on time, but never mind.
We're going to try to maximize the time that you all have.
Okay.
For roughly 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. With that, let's get you into your teams and get started. We know this is the interesting part. Let's have team 1 over here. Team 2 back at the green sign.
We're team 2, right? Hildy and
One is Pam, Joshua, Roy, Bill.
wrong agenda.
We go one.
No, we just started, supposed to
Team
start at
1,
10:05.
Pam, Joshua, Roy,
This is all about.
Bill. Team 2,
Same thing.
Hildy, Jolena, Felicia, Joseph.
Over here.
All right, thank you.
Marty, what point are you gonna tell us?
Okay, so here comes the fun part for the online members. I will go ahead if you want to take just a couple minutes on each of these so I can flip through the ones that they are actually looking at in person, because there are 3. So I'll go by your note as to when you're ready for me to move to the next one. Does that work? Okay.
That works.
Are we just choosing one?
For this slide, yes,
This slide, you just choose one that you think is most
the
impactful.
greatest impact, yeah.
Okay.
Unified set of goals.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a clear roadmap.
Absolutely.
Last,
I'll go with that.
we support differing opinions in this group.
Yes, you can disagree.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
It's, please, look for common
Because if you do
themes.
these,
Look for
Let's see.
I'm not putting you on the. on
I
the
would
pressure.
say, no, I mean, the one that caught my attention was, made it easier for students to stay on a pathway to complete their academic goals. You know, Triple C is focusing on students. Me, I think that's an important one. I remember going through OBCC and, you know, transferring out, and I stayed there as a work study student for many years because of my VA benefits. But notice how many of the same students I was running into year after year after year after year who wouldn't transfer. And so I think, you know, the Vision for Success has actually made it easier for students to focus on their academics and transfer out and continue on.
You know, I don't see, just because they made a rule doesn't mean we have to follow it. So I think if we choose two, I think we're saying, because I think one talks about the system and then one talks about the people within the system. So I say with that logic, we say that we chose two.
Yeah.
Okay. We can be the rebel group, the online. rebel. Okay, now we're done.
Okay, next slide. Now here's the two, this one's for 2 areas of progress.
Well, then we're gonna do 3.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, looks like we just received a 1-minute warning too, so we have one more
Oh my
slide
goodness,
through as well.
okay. I
Sorry.
don't see the exodus of, I'm most concerned about the exodus of students. I don't see that on here.
You're welcome to say that, you know, there's one thing that concerns you that was not actually on here. So
I know that, let's see. My neighbor is a instructor at Compton, and he told me yesterday that there are less than 100 Black men at Compton College. I want to say 65, that's what he told me. So I don't see, I think that's a grave concern.
Well, to that end, closing equity gaps is one of the things that jumped out at me. Because we're not close to understate.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. And again, I think those two can possibly go hand in hand as we have students. It's probably the students who have the hardest time accessing, getting through that are leaving the system. So the two
Absolutely, yeah.
are.
The most in need are leaving.
Yeah.
And the most vulnerable.
Okay.
are you ready for the next slide?
So what is that? Recruitment, retention, and. Okay, next.
How many do we get here? 3?
I'm gonna say that it is, if you find more than one to be valuable, then you pick more than one.
I don't know who came up with that Veterans Issues and Initiatives. I like that one.
You know, I like the African American one, you know that.
There you go.
But you know what? Something that will help everybody is food and housing and security. That will help everyone.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I actually think, and I won't, of course, I can't be here for most of the rest of the day. I wish there was a way to begin to incorporate that issue into Vision for Success. Because now as we're looking at a more holistic view of education, and that, you know, if you can't eat and you don't have internet, you can't learn. I feel like it should be more front and center in terms of the Visions for Success, because there ain't no success without those elements.
I agree.
That's right.
So I'm gonna rely on my 2 colleagues here to lead the charge on that, since I can't
So
unfortunately.
we're gonna agree on food and housing?
Yep,
Okay.
and veterans.
I thought we only pick one.
We're not playing by the rules.
Actually, we're the rebel group.
What are they gonna do? Take away our lunch? Wait, we're not there for lunch. There, yeah.
Well, then
When
let's go to AA, then let's go to African American student. You go add.
All of the above.
Well, I think, yeah, I think all three of them are, completely
I
related.
do.
Including housing insecurity impacts both the veteran population and
Yeah,
our African American students.
that's
You know,
right.
yeah.
I just think there's a tremendous crisis in terms of what's happening with African American students. I really do. They're
Well,
leaving-
if we look at the question, it's, do you want to support? So that makes total sense, Blas, about, you know what I mean? It's like, those are places where your voices can, not to narrow cast, but can make a huge difference. All right, so are we going with elevating the needs of African American students, student housing insecurity, and veterans issues?
Yes.
Sounds good to me.
You be the spokesperson now. I'm just barely awake, Blas. I'm sorry, mine was so short, but I haven't eaten. I didn't have any coffee. I got my coffee and I just ate an egg, so I'll be a little better.
Let's see, so the assignment is just to look for themes and what resonates.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Valerie, sorry, I didn't talk about all the, your full educational experience.
No, that's okay. They said 30 seconds. 30 seconds is no kind of long but short.
Right.
That's why I said 10 seconds, because I couldn't remember. But Blas, I forgot that, you had a similar experience that Daisy had. So I forgot to mention that.
Yeah. And I actually earned my doctorate in social work. I didn't want to do the PhD. So I had two options, the DSW or the PhD. The PhD was going to take me out of the field for many years. And in the veteran space, you're out of the field for a year and everyone you know is gone. So I couldn't afford to do that.
Did you have an instructor called Lauren Brown?
Doesn't
No,
sound
huh?
familiar.
Okay. I was just curious. Well, my mother went back to school in her 50s and she got a MSW from USC.
Nice.
Mhm.
We had a World War II veteran who couldn't graduate way back in the day because he was missing one unit. And he actually came back and graduated. This was while I was at the mayor's office in LA. He was in his, I want to say he was at least 90, 91 or so.
Wow. Yeah. Beautiful. That's really good. And
By the
Jennifer, you are the most amazing extemporaneous speaker. You just you know really how to put it together. Beautiful.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
should leave now. I should leave on that note. So I'll be the extemporaneous speaker.
What time do you have to leave?
Because when all this kept changing around, I have other work stuff today. So I actually have to go to a meeting, God forbid.
When are you leaving at noon?
Pardon me?
When are you leaving at noon?
No, I have to leave in a couple minutes. It's the pits.
Oh,
You know, I've got
wow.
Change around, I know. I really, this format, congrats to Daisy and Pam and Amy for putting together a format that where we're really engaged. I'm really sorry to miss it. So,
Right.
Andrew, will you pass that along, please? Because this is really, the format's working really well so far, I think.
Absolutely, and thank you.
And thank you. I know you had a part in it. And also, I really like my breakout group. Right?
Yeah.
Val and I used to ride on the plane together. Blas and I got confirmed together. There's a lot of that we have.
I have to tell you, Blas, I went to UC Santa Barbara in the late 60s. And that was the time of revolution, right? You read about it. I lived it.
Yeah.
And they took the students took over the campus and burned down the bank and all. So I was there for 3 years. I got about 2 years worth of credit. And they told me, Miss Shaw, you have to go and work. I said, well, you can't, what? I have like my average is like 2.5. Oh no, you gotta. So then I left and I got a job in the community working with young people. And once I started working, then I just sort of cobbled together everything in order to finally get out of school. That's what I did. So I was going everywhere. So.
Yeah, I have to say I had a really good time. Both at Long, I mean, obviously SC with the games and all that, but I would say the highlights would be Long Beach City College and Cal State Long Beach. I had a really great time at both institutions, and I actually still keep in touch with people I met at Long Beach City College. It's been interesting to see their career take off and see where they are now.
Yeah. Well, when I went back, I must have been like 28 and went back to get my master's. And then they had intensive at USC where you go for an instructor would fly in for the weekend, you go to school all weekend. And he ended up hiring me and I left. I was in South LA working at a youth program and ended up across the street from the White House working for the United States Conference of Mayors.
Hi, board members. I just want to let you know that we have about 2 minutes left on this side.
Thank you.
That's Christina.
So that was quite an experience. But what I discovered is that they solve problems in Washington the same way they solve problems in South LA. Everybody get around and say, what are your ideas on solving this problem? But that was quite interesting.
So you were working right across the street from the White House, you said?
Yeah, the U.S. Conference of Mayors is the lobbying entity for the big city mayors.
Just as a friendly reminder, we are joined by members of our public, so just wanted to give you a reminder. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be in DC next month for a few days, for a week or so.
Huh?
I'll be in DC next month.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Looking
Well, I had a
forward to
very
it.
good time. You said you had a good time. I had a very good time with that organization. I learned a lot and met a lot of people. So it was really interesting. Learned a lot about cities and their challenges.
Well, the veteran space, unfortunately, when it comes to, the highest number of anything and everything that can go wrong with the veteran population, LA County is leading that charge. And
oh, yes.
there's so many veterans in LA County, but I would say one great thing about it is that anything you can do successfully in terms of implementation in LA County, you can easily scale down and take it anywhere else and make it work.
Yes.
So I haven't seen that level of collaboration elsewhere.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Hopefully that was informative, fun, great way to describe it. Next slide, please. Going. Next slide, please. So what we want to do as we move forward is just have a moment to hear from each of the groups, thoughts, themes, resonated, what surfaced in your discussions, what stands out for you. Let's go with our folks online first.
Okay. We, as the online group, decided to not completely follow the rules because, here we are out in the ether causing trouble. So I think for the first set of goals, we talked about the importance of the unified goal and the clear map that the Vision for Success set out. And then this is back to that memory thing. Member Shaw, we also talked about the students within that particular goal. Can you fill in a little?
Well, my concern really is the exodus of African-American students within the system. And I was just giving sort of an anecdote of my neighbor who teaches at Compton College, and he told me just yesterday that there were less than 100 African-American men at Compton College.
Wow.
So I think we're, we're really, there's a crisis going on in terms of African-American students and their exodus and recruitment into the system. So I'd like us to focus on that in the future.
And we talked about in that second group that we were supposed to choose from, how that went hand in hand with closing equity gaps. So sometimes the students that we most need to serve are leaving the system in greater numbers, which obviously exacerbates the problem. And so we need to, obviously you can't look at anything in a vacuum, but particularly these issues around our most under-resourced and challenged students. So, and then on the third grouping, in terms of what we were interested or how we can help support the Chancellor's office, the areas we talked about were focusing and supporting African-American students, vets, and food and housing insecurity. And we were happy to see that about the expansion of the Chancellor's office staff, because there's a lot of initiatives and a lot of heavy lifting that you have to do. So happy to see that expansion taking place. And because I have to leave, I just want to put something out there that we talked a little bit about that, again, is not entirely germane to what we just talked about, but it's down the line, looking at the vision for success and the degree to which we can incorporate our new, more holistic vision for our students in terms of learning means having internet access, not having food insecurity, potentially having housing. That if there's a way we can sort of put the vision to success squarely within that larger vision, I think that would be fantastic. And sorry to go off track, but since I do have to leave, when I was thinking about this day, that was something that I really hoped we could look at.
Great. Thank you so much.
I have a question to ask, and that is, I heard something in that presentation. Do you want to hear all of the comments, or can we interrupt with an observation?
Please.
So, the issue around the loss of African-American students is a national one. And I think that we really, what some of the data has said to us is that African-American students, when asked about community college, are very favorable. It is their intention to go to a community college in their area. And I think that's really important, because that has to be linked to why we are losing them. Because it's not an accident that we're losing them. And so I think we need to think much more broadly about what is it that a group of students need in order to stay. And because, I have teenage, I have teenage and young adult granddaughters. And the question has to also do with what is the value quotient of a community college? We're products. We all love community college. We are success. We are the success stories. However, when I ask young people, my grandchildren's age, they're not quite saying, yeah, it doesn't have the same value. And they shouldn't be sort of shut down because they don't. The question is, what is the value? Because they're going out and getting 3 different jobs. They're doing other kinds of things. So if we want them, what is it that we will have to change in order to keep them? Because they're coming in and then they're going out. And now they've gone out. Will they come back in?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the group online. Really meaningful reflections. Group 1 or group 2, who would like to go next? Your reflections and observations.
I'll summarize some things. So there was a question about greatest something. And I think the common themes were 3, talking about the system, students, and also being united. There weren't much areas of divergence on that one. And I think in terms of, you asked about insights that caught our attention. I think the things that came up were just having it a united direction, and also it being like the entire system being involved. And then on the other one about opportunities, there was sort of the opposite. Whereas in the first one, we felt like there was a lot of common themes. On that one, it seemed like it was much more siloed. I think somebody used that word. And so out of that, I think the insights that we gained were taking a holistic approach and recognizing that students are not just one thing. Like a lot of times we, maybe just for summarizing purposes or conversation purposes, we talk about this group of people or that group of people, but they're not just that one characteristic. And so we need to think about students more holistically, and the solution can't be just about one thing. And then also local constituencies being on board and having that buy-in. And then on this last one about 2 areas of progress, the common theme, clearly equity. And we talked a little bit about what would be like the next step of that. And actually it seemed like a lot of our conversation was centered on technology, just making sure that students have online access, and then also just making sure that everyone is equipped to do things well, whether it's professional development for faculty or training or guidance for students. Yeah, we also talked a little bit about technology to guide students. Anyone else in the group want to add on to that?
As you were mentioning the feedback, Roy, the one thing that kind of struck me a little bit was that in each one of these, even though we saw the different perspectives that board members bring when they were talking about the opportunity to support the vision for success, the one thing that struck me is that each of them have an underlying theme of putting students at the center of everything that we do, right? From what we've done well, what the impact has been, to how they want to support the vision for success moving forward, to where we have concerns. Equity was a strong concern, but through that and what the solutions look like are very student-centered, which I think is a very positive sign.
Great, thank you. We are taking copious notes, so thank you.
So our group had a very robust discussion that largely overlaps with what a lot of our colleagues have already mentioned. With respect to this particular question, we agreed wholeheartedly on the vision for success is providing a unified direction, and for elevating the student voice as the center of the conversation. What's interesting is that we also aligned on its example in setting equity at the center of the conversation, which is interesting because the DIA issues came after Vision for Success. And we toyed with the idea of making it a separate goal, or whether we should infuse it into each individual one. But regardless of how it was presented, it really set the direction of equity as the center of our mission, vision, and values. So that was the greatest impact. And then also a side note was that the vision also provided unified direction where there were archaic documents or guidelines, regulations that probably provided a more compliance-oriented setting and environment prior to the Vision for Success. So kind of resetting that trajectory and making that culture shift was one of the greatest points of utility for the Vision for Success. Here, we took this question very literally. What opportunity do you want to support the Chancellor's Office staff in making progress on the Vision for Success goals? We took that as you have to pick one of these. So we agreed that building relationships was the most important opportunity we as a board would want to support. And then 2 areas of progress we are most concerned about, the area over there, were equity and regional gaps. Regional gaps included concerns like declining enrollment and the delays caused by COVID and bringing the enrollment numbers up. And then secondly, to agree with Member Shabazian about the robust technology infrastructure and the need for data and technology support to make all the other goals work.
Excellent, thank you.
Can I just say something about the challenges that are, I guess it was the impact, right? So I think that the Vision for Success, I joined after you all had approved and ratified and moved forward with it. And I feel like I wonder about like lip service versus actual implementation, right? I mean, and hearing from Jolene and Joseph, who are like in community colleges every day, are in and around them much closer than I am. It was just interesting to hear some of the conversation around like, are people really taking the plan, the vision, and actually trying to incorporate into their own strategic plans and some of their own decision-making? I don't know. We usually hear about like the really great actors, right? Because we showcase them. And then there's some really bad actors sometimes we have to hear from. And then like everyone in between, I don't really know like how they're really adopting it. And I think that's like the next level, right? For this next kind of stage of the vision or whatever we end up adopting, right? Is like, how do we take it to the next level? Because in my experience at policy is just a piece of paper. Like what you do on implementation is where like so much more of the work actually happens. And so that's just something that I was thinking about. And as we think about our role, I think that, you should use us as much as you can, or to maybe be those relationship builders is what we talked about. Because if there's a way to kind of get it more ingrained, if it's assigning us like some like regions or, districts or what have you, I think that not all of us could give as much time, but I think all of us would probably be interested in doing what we can to be helpful, but.
If there's an opportunity to interact on that, my perception is that the next stage is having more local buy-in from the local constituency groups, whether that's local student leaders, local academic senates, CEOs, trustees, classified leaders, more local buy-in. And I don't think you can say you must have more local buy-in. I think they need to have more of a fingerprint on the vision. And so I think there's a balance. We've got a vision, but we also need some local ownership of it. And so I think we need to think of some ways to allow the local constituency groups to have their fingerprint on what the vision is, so that it won't be a matter of complying with the Board of Governors vision for success, but this will be a vision that comes from their own values, that they will passionately implement whether we're there or not.
Thank you.
Okay. Please.
As they were speaking, it just making me think about the local control accountability plans that K-12 has and the process that they use. In Rialto Unified, we're talking about strategic abandonment and looking at, well, what are all the compliance things that we need to do, and what are the things that we just like to do because we like to do it. Because colleges, they work really hard. They got a lot of stuff going on. And so like when the BOC comes with this, remember there's a board of trustees that has their own strategic plan. And so how do we help districts strategically abandon some of the things that take away their time that they could be spending to move in this direction? And I think that that's, an important part. And I think on the relationship building side is, if you don't have the elected members of the local districts understand, there's really no one to hold districts accountable at the local level if they don't understand the direction that we're trying to ask districts to go in.
Local alignment happens at the board level primarily, right? So if the trustees at the local agencies are in alignment with this and they understand it, and if we have their support and their buy-in on it, and it's connected with their values, then the local goals align better with it. A lot of the colleges have put in a lot of effort, making sure that the local goals match and are aligned with the vision. But is it much more organic, as Member Shavazian had talked about? That's where I think we can explore, but really making sure that the local boards aligned with the vision will really help the shared governance process where the constituent groups play a part. Have that aligned.
So would it be correct to say that the 116, we'll even subtract out one, the 115 colleges, more traditional colleges, the 72 districts, there is data someplace, I'm looking at you, John, some data someplace where that the board can actually see where there has been more success in working through the vision for success. And then be able to look at where that is sort of not the case. Can we do?
So I'm gonna hold that question.
Okay.
Because my favorite answer, yes, but no, but no, but yes. And
Okay,
John
all
will
right.
give you details
He'll
at
give-
some point. So I want to keep us moving. So we're
Okay.
going to hold on to that question
Perfect.
because I think we can evaluate strategies
Yeah,
potentially, right? But only if we have the right data infrastructure.
absolutely.
So I think this is part of what we have to wrestle with as we continue to move forward. I want to move us to our last exercise. So there's going to be lots more conversation to come. And so I want to make sure that we keep time for moving forward. You will not be sharing out verbally, but what we would ask everyone to do is to grab a pen and a piece of paper and answer these two questions. We will be coming back to this later on in the day. So just take a couple of minutes to think about these two questions. The questions are, today, I want to learn more about fill in the blank. And then based on this morning session, what opportunity do we need to take action on with urgency and why? And you won't be sharing these out loud, at least not yet, but we will be circling back to these. Okay, I'm going to wrap us up. Chancellor Gonzalez, board member, President Haynes, and board members, thank you for a really robust discussion. A lot of amazing feedback and perspectives, and captured copious notes here. I will hand it back to you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Executive Vice Chancellor Alvarado. I'll let you finish up your typing. Today, I want to learn more about blank. And then based on this morning session, what opportunity do we need to take action on? So we're going to come back to that at the end of your day. We are only running 15 minutes late. We actually made up time. So this is good. I'm going to ask our Executive Vice Chancellor John Hetz to please join us up here. Let me transition us. So I heard a lot about the urgency, and that made me really hopeful and optimistic. Lots of changes in technology and thinking about the future in that way, how we engage stakeholders differently, the relationships we're going to need to succeed. What I'm hoping we can do with this next bit of presentation is help you understand the national and the state context. That will be really where we are going to live with this presentation, right? What is happening nationally in our state, and then we're going to bring it localized to our system, because that is your lens, but it's important that you understand the landscape. The one thing that came to mind as I transitioned to this is how we, all of us, as a team, think about not just shared governance, because I've now heard that word 5 times, I've been taking notes,
Thank you.
but shared urgency. And I think this presentation will get us there. So Dr. John Hetz.
Well, before we start, I want to sort of pose a guiding question for my colleagues on the board. We've been tracking and we remain concerned about declining enrollment. But our job as a board is to remain action oriented. And as we get started, I want us to each name one thing that you believe our colleges can do differently to engage students. So it's
That's a great question.
so as you listen to John, that's sort of one of the framing questions as that we really will this afternoon or today have to think about.
And just to be clear, I will be asking you for those later. So this is not just a thought exercise. We'll be talking about it. So please do think about what it is that you think that our colleges should do. And then we will use that to juxtapose against some things that students have said that they need. And use that to think carefully about where we are going as a system. I just wanted to thank you all for being here and the opportunity to see you all in person, both today and last night. It's been super fantastic. I love all the stories about how our parents touched our lives and moved us in the educational space. I shared my story with a lot of you last night, and it's such a powerful thing. What I'm hoping to do today is level set where we are as a system with all of you. We've talked a little bit about a lot of these things together, and so just keep in mind there's much more information behind all of this, and I'm trying to not get us further behind schedule, so I will just try and go through this as quickly as I can. If we could go to the next slide. So before we get started, I just want to kind of level set why we're here and having this conversation about data. So the next slide. So President Haynes has already set up a big part of what I want to talk about today, and that is to really think about how the vision for success changed our college's approach to leading our educational system. There were some really significant changes that this board led, both for the state of California and nationally, to think differently about what it meant to be an educational institution, especially a community college. Prior to the Vision for Success and other associated reforms like the Student-Centered Funding Formula, Guided Pathways, a lot of the focus was on making sure you got students into the institution and into the classes. And the change in focus that this board has led to understanding what happens to students once they're in our institutions, what happens to our institutions, what happens to our students as they go through our institutions, and what happens to our students after they leave our institutions is a fundamental shift. And so I just want to lay that down as a direction that this board has taken to change the conversation about education that's different than just focusing on enrollment. Enrollment is important, but that proposition of what it means to go to a community college and what you get from it is the focus. And that's one of the things that will hopefully drive us back to having students come back to our institutions. So if we could go to the next slide. And I just want to remind you, we've had some conversations about this. So previously on enrollment in the California community colleges, we have covered some of this. And we talked about the trajectory that we were on. The last time I think I talked to you about this, we were talking about what it would look like at the end of fall and what the trajectory was looking like for spring. At that time, I was, our system Cassandra, as often, I was looking fairly negative. We were expecting to head towards somewhere in the neighborhood of a 25 to 30% decline, and somewhere between 500 and 600,000 students down from pre-pandemic levels. So I'll catch you up, and the good news is I overestimated how bad things were. So it's only relative good news. So we will come back to the relative good news, but this is a conversation that we've been having throughout the pandemic. The loss of our students, the exit from our system of students that we had, and the lack of new students coming. Next slide. And so one of the things that it's always helpful to do is to think about the types of students that we serve and the diversity of what they bring to our system. So 70% of our students are students of color. 11% of them take classes solely at night. 74% of our students are part-time students or only non-credit students. 14% of them are non-citizens, 35% of them are first-generation students. And just to be clear, our system uses a different definition of first generation than most higher ed does. Higher ed often allows students who've had some college or a community college degree to count as first generation. We don't. We only count students as first generation if if none of their parents had anything beyond high school. So a third of our students have a family in which no one that they know has gone beyond high school. 66% of them are economically disadvantaged. 41% of them are what people used to call non-traditional or adult students. 11% of the students we serve already have an associate degree or higher. So they are students that are coming back to us for different things. And so we have students that have lots of higher education experience. At the same time, we have a lot of students who are in high school at the same time, right? Almost 10% of our system are dual or concurrent enrollment students. On top of that, we have over 100,000 foster youth students, over 100,000 students with disabilities. We have 35 to 40,000 students who are veterans, and about 10,000 students who are homeless. So we serve an incredibly diverse set of students. One of the things that is always important to center this conversation around, though, is who are we not serving, right? Who are the students who are being left out? And I think one of the things that we are seeing throughout California is we have a large and increasing population of adults who have either no experience with higher education or have tried higher education either with us or one of our higher ed partners and have left. So there are somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 million adult students with some education, some to no education, who are really our audience, who are basically saying, no, thank you. And it's really worth us thinking about why and what we can do differently so that, just to go back to President Haynes' comments earlier, right? What is the value to them that will bring them either back to education or to education for the first time? Okay. So if we could go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about the national and the state landscape. Next slide. So one of the things that President Haynes was talking about is there's this change in people's interest in higher education. So one of the things that we're seeing across the country is there is a pretty significant decline in attendance direct from high school. In 2016, it was 70%, it's down to 62%, and appears to be continuing to trend downwards. Prior to the pandemic, we had lost already 2.5 million students in higher education from 2012. During the pandemic, we've lost another 1.5 million students in higher education overall. So there has been a really dramatic exodus, not just from our system, but from higher education generally. And as we're looking into the future, one of the things that tends to be a leading indicator is how many students are completing FAFSA for the next year. And that looks like that is down again, right? So this is the, what do we know about what's coming? FAFSA completion is already down for next year students or for this upcoming year students. It's down 9% overall, 12% for students who were previously enrolled, and 15% for Pell eligible students. We're also facing demographic declines, both in California and across the country, where the population of young people under 18 declined for the first time in decades in 2020. It was down 1.4%. That is expected to continue. We talked a little bit about the expected enrollment or expected demographic declines. One of the things that people bring up a lot, and it's important for us to talk a little bit about, is the job market right now is actually pretty strong. Unemployment is down to 3.5%. But the weird thing is it's down not because all of the students that we would typically serve have moved into the workforce. Workforce participation for adults who would be in our primary service categories is also down. So young people, young adults are opting out of both education and employment right now. They are disengaging from what most people would think about as future-oriented activity. And so that's going to be an ongoing challenge for us. And then there's a lot of work on students and their parents' perceptions of the value of education, whether or not it's whether or not it advances your career, it's going to help you, whether it's going to help you get a stable job, whether it's worth the cost. And what you see is across the board during this pandemic, big drops in the perception that higher education has found. And that perception matters when you look at students who say, I'm thinking about or I'm likely to enroll. If they don't perceive that value to be there, they're much less likely to enroll. 2/3 as likely to enroll, or 2/3 less likely to enroll than students who self-identify, I'm likely to enroll, and believe in the value. So a core of what we have to do is establish the meaning and value of higher education, especially higher education in our system for our students. Next slide. Yes, sorry, Member Williams.
The 2.5, I guess I don't understand the total universe for national enrollment. Is
So that's
2.5
all-
million a lot down? Like, how many students are enrolled in higher education nationally?
Oh, I should have pulled that number. I'm not entirely sure. That's a pretty large percentage. It's in the,
2.5 is a lot.
it's a
though,
lot of
nationally?
students nationally.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if you think about it, right, our student population represents, if I remember right, just under 10% of all students higher education. That's about 2 million.
Just for us.
So 2.5 million is probably about 10-ish% of all higher ed. And so we've lost someplace between 10 to 20% of students who are in higher ed from what we looked at, looked like nationally in 2012. It's a lot. The higher education declines are significant. They've been very significant in other regions. California's been a little bit more robust to these changes because of the different age of our population and prior to the pandemic, the greater immigration that we had to California. But if you look at higher education declines in areas like the Northeast and the upper Midwest, very significant to the point where traditional kind of small, very long-standing liberal arts colleges with hundreds of years of history are closing. That's an excellent question. Thank you. All right, so next slide. In California, we've had 2 straight years of population decline. This is the first time that's happened in a very long time. We've lost somewhere around 300,000 Californians across a variety of reasons. There's outbound immigration, people leaving California, our birth rate declines, and also obviously we've lost some Californians to the pandemic. So we have had a pretty significant loss in the number of Californians. Obviously, that's a very small percentage of California, but it's very different than we faced as we thought about what our enrollment was going to look like in the past, where we had year over year growth coming from K-12. That's not the case anymore. And so we have K-12 enrollment declining alongside of this. It was down over 300,000. It's the first year this past year where it's dropped under 6 million students. It continued to decline, and the declines are steeper when you look at pre-K and kindergarten. Yes.
So the 2 straight years I get, is there any comparison to be made? We lost students due to the Great Recession.
Yes.
So is that a different kind of a loss, or is it that we just didn't pay as much attention to that one? And
So we have, there's a lot of fascinating strings for me to pull on. Right now, the 2 straight loss, that's the population of California that's gone down, not the students.
right, okay.
So it's a slightly different thing. What I would say is our loss of students has been more significant during this period than during the Great Recession. And in a lot of ways, part of what happened during the Great Recession was driven by budgets, not necessarily by students exiting. So one of the things that our colleges faced during that period were really significant caps on enrollment. So there was demand, but we couldn't serve the students. Whereas at this point, we have far less demand.
So so because I had confused those. But some of that loss just stayed as losses.
Yes.
They did not kind of come back to us in the same numbers, and therefore it is now that loss is just embedded within.
It's a basic principle that goes for anyone who's ever been in a sales job, right? The opportunities at particular moments are strongest. And so when students are thinking about education, if you grasp them during those moments, it's much easier, especially if they're already in your system, if you serve them well, to keep them. But people that leave, it's always harder to get them to come back. Right. And a lot of them left at that time. I think you're referring to some of the work that PPIC has done.
Yeah.
One of the things they left to is they went to a lot of for-profit institutions that popped up, not just popped up, but there were some that were existing, but some basically went into that moment. And we had one that recruited students off of our campus because students couldn't get the courses they need. And so our students went there, cooled out, and left higher ed.
So I just want to put a pin, if somebody will just, because what that is sort of telling me is, as a board, we put into place things that help keep our students. we still lost students, but we did put some regulations in place and our colleges did do a lot of outreach to keep them, but we still lost. And so now what we have to ultimately do is to really figure out what will bring those other ones back. Because the opportunity was it was limited.
Well, so the opportunity is always there, it's just harder, right? So when we've lost these students, we now have to work harder to convince them of the value of our institutions, right? When there's a natural progression, you don't have to do as much convincing, right? Like,
Right.
oh, I'm just gonna keep going. Once you break that chain, you have to do more.
So
Yes, sir.
I think language is really important. So like when you're saying we lost them in a higher education, you mean just in the public system? They could have gone to a private school,
So
a private higher education school.
so that's a lot what happened in the Great Recession.
Yeah.
That has not happened so much during this period.
But I think it's really, we gotta really be clear that
Yes.
we don't say that we lost them in higher education if they're still going, because how you get them back is gonna be different. Cause like if they go to Phoenix, well, then you're probably not gonna get them back because they graduated them faster. And so I think we gotta really just be clear on how we describe it, because it'll affect our strategy. Because if we're thinking they're sitting home, then how you get them back is different. But if they're really still going to school, then I think we gotta be really clear about, you get what I'm saying?
That's absolutely correct. I
Yeah.
think during the Great Recession, that's absolutely what happened.
Okay.
We're not seeing that to the same extent right now. So the enrollment, for example, at the for-profits are also down,
Okay, okay,
right? So obviously, there's probably some shifting,
yeah.
but they haven't, the Great Recession, you saw us go down and their enrollments go up. That's not what's happened this time.
Okay, but I mean, and how it's communicated with us so that we can think about,
Absolutely.
like, I think, being able to segment it, I think it's helpful for like how we think.
I want to tag on to Member Williams's thought, because I think I don't want to make the assumption that when you said the shocking statement of young adults are engaging from higher education and the workforce, what is the why? Because if young adults are burned out, if there is a prevalence of mental health issues, and we just all need to step away with the intention of coming back, then our strategy is very different. So are folks recovering at home with the intention of coming back, so that we should expect this enrollment growth when things get better? Or do we need to dig further into what the why is behind that statistic?
So I think we'll absolutely have to need to dig further into the why. I think when you've looked at national surveys of students, it captures very well exactly what you're talking about. I had a conversation with one of my older daughters about what it's like to be a young person right now, and the things that she's had to
stressful.
live through, right? Like, she was born right before 9/11 and has lived through 9/11, the Great Recession, right? Particular changes in governance in this country and all the things that brought with it. And she finds it very difficult to be hopeful sometimes. And I think one of the things, and we've talked a little bit about this before, education is essentially an act of hope. It's a belief that what I do now is going to pay off downstream in the future. And so part of what we have to do for our students is restore that hope, restore the belief that I can do things now that are going to pay off for me later, because that has meaning, that has value, that's going to be there. That obviously is going to be a very significant challenge for not just us, but for everyone.
I think there's a.
I'd like to say something.
Yes, Member Shaw.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on what she was saying, I think the question is really, we need to find out, what do they value? If they don't value education, they don't value working, what is it they do value? So, convening the students along with, focusing on with psychologists to find out what it is that they value is very important. And then understand clearly that the values are demonstrably changing among the younger generation. So those, I guess that's, otherwise, I don't know how, I don't know how we will attract them and then keep them if we don't really understand what it is they value. And then and then fashioning something along the lines of what they value as opposed to trying to create hope. Because my goodness, I don't know how you create hope, really. Does anybody know?
Well, I think like there might be a gap. Like I'm taking a class at MIT for blockchain, and I didn't have to enroll or register in the class, but I'm getting access to the content. And I know like several young people that like you got LinkedIn Learning now. You have all of these master courses where you can still get high level education, but no, you're not enrolling in anything. And so there's a lot of young people that are moving to micro enterprise and they're doing entrepreneurship. Like my son does not want to go back to college. He's like, I could go on YouTube and get all of the stuff that you're talking. So it's not, I don't want to make it, we use a lot of deficit language when we talk about young people, and we got to really be careful because we'll think like negative about them because they're doing stuff. They're like just not doing it with us because the way it is. So you got to really be mindful of how you just because they're not coming to us, that don't mean that they're laying on the couch.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. We've got to find out what gives them a sense of value and what is valuable to them. And your son, Board Member Williams, has a role model in the father who's educated.
Yeah,
I'm
and
talking
he's
about
like,
the person who doesn't have a father.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And I think on this point, the group of people that I'm most interested in hearing about are the ones who are not our students.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
These are the ones who are out there and they found value in the hustle and found value in as they go and explore alternative career options. And those career options require a certain skill set. And they're going online and they're learning from peers that are in that space. They're like, hey, you know, you got this kind of influencer maybe making $2 million a year teaching people how to put on makeup properly, right? And they're out there and they're learning from each other, right? And you can do that in almost any field, including technology. Now we're competing not just against other public institutions, we're not competing just against private institutions, but we're competing against people in the field who are doing the work that are making the content and the knowledge available without the credential. So then it becomes a value discussion around what value is the credential that the colleges provide and the time commitment that it takes to achieve that credential versus the same knowledge and job skill without the credential, right? And so there's a whole wide variety as you talk about the different values and what's the motivator. Those people who have not engaged our system that are doing that, what would it take to change their mind about what the credential brings to them, whether it be a non-credit or whatever, right?
I was trying to figure out, Member Williams, that pit in my stomach right now as I was seeing this conversation unfold. And it brought me back to when I talk to students, they actually believe they can succeed. What they focus on is not what they believe. They focus on what they need.
Yeah.
And so it reminded me of my first sociology class that I ever taught. And we always teach the self-fulfilling prophecy that we don't believe in ourselves, right? Or we believe that we will fail because of the actions of others and the beliefs of others and the resources that are around you. So it reminds me of the work that this board has done on social determinants, right? The connection of housing back to that work. Reminds me of the DI work so that our students are reinforced and that they believe that others, and they know that others know that they can succeed if they are provided the resources. So I want to remind us of that work because we're kind of asking the wrong questions. I can tell you that they believe, but if we have built a system that doesn't believe in them and doesn't give them the resources and opportunities in real time, then we have missed the boat, literally, right? And we will not get them back because we keep asking the wrong question.
And I will piggyback on that as I listened to this. Our those who are coming to us are not coming to us as an empty vessel. And so we really need to design our colleges around that piece of it, of asking the right questions and providing the right supports. Because and we now have regulations, we have credit for prior learning. What does that look like for a student who, somebody who's coming in, who has taken 6 weeks at a community service thing, having to do with technology, didn't get a certificate, but has at least, and that was their interest. How do we build on that rather than saying, oh, yeah, this is a little teeny piece and now you've got to go through a semester of such and such and so. So rethinking about how we tag on to what it is they want to do, because they'll tell us, and work with them where they are. And then, but not start them all over again because our systems are set up that way.
So John, you gave us bad news. You gave us a national context, right? And then you brought us back to the state. Declining enrollment is connected back to demographics, birth rates. What's next?
Well, what's next is more bad news about where our enrollment is. I really appreciated that conversation. I think the nice thing about, let's go ahead and skip over where the economy is, because I think we're going to lose time. So if we could just skip to the enrollment. One more, I think. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring all of that into focus. Students now have options and expectations. Right. And I think what Member Williams and Member Rawlings very clearly identified is that if students feel like an option works better for them, they're going to take it. And if they come to us and they don't feel like they're valued, or they feel like we're making it too hard for them, that there are hoops for them to jump through that they don't, then they will take advantage of these other opportunities. That's what we would all do. This slide is using National Student Clearinghouse data, so it's not exactly the same as our data, just to set that up, but it's just to give the national comparison. When you look at the four-year colleges, they also have declines, but not as steep. But if we focus on public two-year colleges, up through spring of 2021, we looked very similar to the national picture. Starting in fall 21 and spring 22, when we compare that to the previous term of the same type, so the declines from fall 20 to fall 21, from spring 21 to spring 22, we're showing significantly steeper declines in enrollment compared to public two-year colleges in the rest of the country. Oh, wow. So one of the things that is very different is we've started to diverge from the national picture a little bit. And so we're going to move to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in our data. If we could go to the next slide. And so all of you probably saw in the board update from Friday, we do have some preliminary information about what enrollment is looking like for comparing this most recent year to previous years. It's not complete. We have 98.5% of our expected enrollment accounted for. We have 5 colleges, 4 districts who haven't reported yet. They are in the process of finishing that. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for passing the regulations, because that's really helped motivate our colleges to turn their data in a more timely way that makes it easier for me to report to you. We still have some ways to go, but it's been much better this year than in previous years. So if we could go to the preliminary estimates. Oh, I forgot I had these. So if you could just run through all of the animation here. Keep going, thank you. All right, so overall, if you compare 21-22 to the 19-20 academic year, so the last pre-pandemic year wasn't fully pre-pandemic, but for most of our colleges, the enrollment was pre-pandemic. We are down 22% overall. That roughly represents a decline of around 450,000 students for our system. And you can see we're still seeing the dramatic equity gaps in that enrollment decline, with Native American and Black and African American students having the steepest declines. The differences have evened out a little bit as we've moved through the pandemic. We've talked a little bit about that before, where groups that didn't show as steep enrollment declines early in the pandemic have to some extent caught up. If we could go to the next slide. We continue to see a disproportionate impact by gender as well. But again, this is narrowed significantly, with male students more likely to not enroll or exit the system. Next slide. And we continue to see the pattern by age with older adults, age 45 and above, principally showing the steepest declines in our enrollment. One of the things that's happened though in the last year is that the kind of middle adult age group of age 20 to 24 has in some ways really accelerated in their enrollment declines. So they were a group of students that were typically already enrolled in higher ed. We were doing a better job of keeping them. They have also started to disappear out of our system. Next slide. But it's worth thinking about this enrollment context in the bigger picture of the types of things that this board has driven our institutions to do. So let's talk a little bit about course success, persistence, and completion as indicators of how our colleges are doing and how they're serving our students. Next slide. So these are a little bit small because I wanted to put them all in one place. These are early momentum indicators. We typically use these types of things in things like our guided pathways work to talk about whether or not things are meaningfully changing on the ground. And you can see from the left side of the graph, when we look at student success rate in their first year or their persistence from their first term to the second term, right? To go back to what we talked about before, once you have a student in the college, how many of them come back? You can see that those are incredibly flat. We've seen very, very little change in success rate. The success rate change that we see in the most recent 2 years is a function of our efforts to not count emergency withdrawals against students. And so that's changed the success rate there a little bit. But generally, you see very little change in persistence over time. Where we've seen some more significant change, though, is getting students to engage when they start with us. Right, so we've had some dramatic increases in the percentage of our students who attend full time in their first term. That's a very strong predictor of students' long-term success in college, and a very significant increase in the number of students who complete both transfer level English and transfer level math in their first year. Again, a very strong predictor of whether or not students complete a meaningful educational outcome. So on the one hand, we've had some very significant structural changes in how students experience this. There's also this backdrop of things not changing on some of the pivotal things that our students experience. Next slide. Oh, yes, Member Williams.
I think one of our.
If we should go back.
We don't have the ability to look at like leading and lagging indicators because a lot of times we're just looking at the data at the end of the year and it's like too late to adjust like as policy making bodies and like having an understanding of like the census points and when data is available. It's like the weirdest thing that I've ever seen that we can't get live data. Like they literally take grades and attendance, like, but we can't get the information in a timely kind of fashion to really say, college, you need to adjust, or let's look at this, or it's just, why is it like that?
Oh, the why is it like that? That's a tougher question to answer. The basics of it is we're a federated system and we don't have a system-wide ERP or student information system. So what happens is colleges all have their independent information systems where they track all that information and they report that to us at the end of the term or the end of the year. So they have to wrap all of their business processes up, get all those things finalized, and then they get together and they design their data tables and send them to us. And so that's usually, you know, it's supposed to be a month after term and usually runs to about 2 to 3 months after term and 2 to 3 months after the end of the academic year for things like financial aid and awards. The why that is because a system-wide ERP is exceptionally expensive. Right? If we were going to implement a system-wide solution, it would probably run in the neighborhood of about $500 million.
Billion?
Yes.
Billion, $500 million, yes.
How much does, well, okay, I'll ask you
Right,
offline.
so, but that's one of the things, one of the real powerful things that's in the roadmap is a commitment from our state government to actually work towards that solution. But that will be, there's a lot of change management, a lot of effort will be able to go into that. We hope to really have that conversation with all of you in a greater detail, but we are not there yet. Member Rollins.
As we go through some of these slides and I see trends over time, one of the things as you go through, if there's any correlation that might be helpful for us, I think an example of that would be, we see the pattern of declines in enrollment. And then we also see years where we have some successes. And I wonder if any like that correlation particularly might be an indicator of those students that are stopping out and not continuing. If it might be that they were in a at-risk category that may have skewed some of the other numbers, right? So if those that have stopped out are stopping out because of socioeconomic reasons and they're either out in the workforce or providing family care, would they also have likely been the type of student who would need more supports on the completing transfer level English and math? Right. And is that coloring the numbers a little differently? That some of the numbers that might look good, maybe not as good as we think because some of the students had to stop out.
Right, so you're essentially asking about possible selection effects.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's always that possibility, but when we've tried to look at this disaggregated, you see the same trends across all the different groups. That's right. What you do see, right, is the equity gaps in how well they are, but the trends are all the same, right? Or what the overall outcome is.
That's very
So it's not to try and put as fine a point on it as I can. The success in our system is not a consequence of more vulnerable students not enrolled.
Right. Very good to know. Thank you so much.
But it's an excellent question because that is one possible way that you could explain an increase.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Kind of like building on that, I think something that's really in the forefront of my mind looking at this as well, it doesn't necessarily look the greatest to be flat across all of these years, especially implementing things. I think a big thing to keep in mind in the forefront is that COVID is present in this data. These students and we're looking at persistence to a second term, did it actually increase, or is COVID like suppressing the numbers because of like, I don't want it to be a reflection of that the vision for success or things are not working, because I think that they are. It's just we're not able to see accurate data because of the situation we're in. Similar to what you were looking at the national averages and how we're increased and kind of diverging from the national average. We also have regulations around COVID. LA is our biggest district or area of schools, and they've had mask mandates. Vaccine mandates, they've had things in place that have kept students potentially away from our colleges that other states don't have. So looking at the data in context, I think is important for this conversation as well.
I think it's a fantastic point to note that the last 2 years here are being influenced by COVID. And so the fact that students continue to persist in our system at a similar rate is a testament to our ability to keep things working at our colleges. However, the flatness of that prior to that is not great, right? Like there's no other way to put it. Okay, if we could go to the next slide. The other thing I wanted to talk about is how students finish. And there's a couple of new things here that we've built out based on questions from you and suggestions from the field. So one of the things in the past we've talked to us about completion, this is showing completion or transfer. So we've added transfer to that. We built that into the dashboard so you can see that directly. And the other thing that we're also providing is whether or not students are still enrolled, right? So you can think about, did we finish? Did we get to something meaningful? Or if you haven't, are you still in our college, right? Or one of our colleges. And so one of the things that you can see across the Vision for Success is modest but regular progress towards more students completing a meaningful educational outcome. It's maybe not anything to write home about given how small it still is, but that's a big change in the context of how we typically serve students, right? This has been a steady march forward. We have a long way to go. And so we still have some opportunity with the students that are still there for them to continue to finish, and they do in the next 3 years. But of students that finish, a majority of them that finish or transfer do so in their first 3 years. So it's good news, but I would say not good enough news.
John, can I
Yes.
ask you a question
Yes, please.
related to this slide? So we've heard a ton of horror stories about students who are enrolled in multiple colleges at the same time.
Yes.
And then they have a hell of a time trying to get a degree from one of those institutions because they have to deal with bringing all those different course numbers in, et cetera, et cetera. Can you tell whether the pandemic has streamlined that and encouraged students to attend one college consistently, and whether that has had an effect on throughput and completion?
That is a question I can answer, but I don't have the answer right now. There is this possibility that it may have gone slightly the other way, that the pandemic has opened up the possibility for students to attend remotely at more places. So we should be alert to the possibility that before there was kind of this geographic limit, like if I was in Los Angeles, I could go to Long Beach or Cerritos or one of the LACCD colleges, but that geographic limit may have changed a little bit. So that is something that we are absolutely going to have to think about, and I will bring that back to see whether or not there has been a pandemic-related impact on that. One of the things, this goes back to some of the questions about the system-wide ERP. One of the challenges always has been is because all of these data systems are separate, as a student moves from college to college, it's always been the burden of the student to carry that information with them. And the colleges often are resistant to taking each one of those things. They want to wait for the student to demonstrate that they're actually going to be at the college for a while before they do the work of figuring out, okay, you've got 4 credits here and 9 credits here and 12 credits from your time at CSU. They want the student to demonstrate they're going to be there a while first before they put all that work in. And so what happens is students arrive with all those different pieces and they're left to try and put them together on their own for some significant period. And because we don't have this information all connected, a system-wide student information system would, as soon as a student showed up someplace else, that college would have all of their information, what their previous transfer credits are, how they, what they may have had from AP or IB or CLEP, all that stuff would be available for the college and the student at that college to use for planning right away. But right now, it's a nightmare for students to try and navigate that.
John,
Yes, sir.
with this number, does this only take into account transfer to CSU and UC, or does it also?
It's all of our transfers.
So private and everything.
Private and everything. The majority of our transfers are to the CSU and UC still. That's going to probably change a little bit over time, but that still represents the majority of our transfer destinations.
But the credit is given if you go to a private
Absolutely.
school.
Yep, absolutely. So this is all possible transfer destinations are included. Yes, sir.
Does this data also take into consideration someone like myself who has transferred but chooses to continue to stay and take classes in a community college?
So that is a fantastic issue that we struggle with. One of the things that in order to best understand how students successfully navigate and leave, there was a choice that was made with the student-centered funding formula to only count transfers for students who transfer and then exit the system, so no longer have enrollment. So this would underrepresent students like yourself because we're trying to make sure that students are authentically transferring. And one of the things that was happening is students would take a course or two at like a UC during like the summer extension, and those were getting counted as transfers. And so the solution was to not count that. So this does undercount some students that are concurrently enrolling in 4-year institutions and one of our institutions.
Yeah, so without taking away from the main data, if there was a way to have that data also available or look at that, that would be great, because I know a lot of my friends who have transferred, especially now in the pandemic era with online access to education and our community colleges being greater than it ever has been, they're taking a course or two online, which will then undercount them as well. So I'm not sure how much that would change the data, but if we could have that data aside just to see what it would maybe be, might be helpful as well.
Absolutely. We'll work to bring that back. It's a little bit challenged to build that into things, but we can explore it separately.
Yeah, separately, not necessarily change the.
William said it seems like you have a question.
No,
Randy.
I just feel like we should be able to work out a deal with Amazon or Google to just do a system for us. Like, it shouldn't cost $500 million to, like, you ever see your shopping on Amazon? They tell me everything about me wherever I go. It seems like they probably have something on the shelf that they can just give us and we can get started.
It's fascinating to have conversations with large corporations about what they're willing to give us. I think part of the cost of that, just to be clear, is the change management cost of getting everyone to do that, right? So the cost of a system like that year over year, once in place, probably in the neighborhood of about 100 million.
What are we paying now? Like they're spending on whatever it is that they got that's
It's true.
disconnected and all of the inefficiencies and the lack of progress. I mean, like, I don't.
I'm so excited to hear you say all those things. Absolutely, that's true. But you have to pay for the transition from one to the next.
Okay.
Right. So that is.
We
what you're
say
paying for.
student centered, right? Like,
Can I say yes? I would like to say yes. Let's do that. That's absolutely part of our long-term strategy. We just have to work to figure out how that budget works. That's really ultimately the goal. But we absolutely, it's part of the governor's roadmap. It's part of what we are working on for the system. It obviously solves lots of different problems that we're talking about. It's just going to take us a while to get there.
And to add on that, I think Dr. Hudson shared a whole lot about is the system, and the stakeholders within the system have been talking about that for quite a long time, about the efficiencies it would build.
yeah.
So it's not that some of this pre-work hasn't gone into it. There's a participatory governance body called Telecommunication Technology Advisory Committee. It has been discussed in that group for probably about 15 years. So there's a lot of groundwork done on
Long.
and
It's too
aligning
long.
systems and infrastructure to make this process a little easier, but there's more to come.
Yeah,
We're
yeah. That's almost inappropriate. 15 years?
Changing hearts and minds.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't,
but
I can't
it's like-
speak to the past. What I can tell you is this is part of our absolute goal for this system. And this is part of what I talked about at our last board meeting. We have to free up the ability of our colleges to do more of the real work and take this type of administration off of their plate so that they can do the things they have to do for students.
Yeah.
It frees up lots of things for students to allow them to move authentically anywhere in our system. It frees up lots of things for us in order to be able to better understand how things are going. But it's going to be a journey.
So John, you have 15 minutes, but let me just acknowledge that prior to this board and this pandemic, there had not been an investment in the technology of this system, ever.
Period.
So if you think about it, in 5 years, and without the questions that you all are asking here today, and that sense of urgency, we did not have a state investment. We did not have more than one-time funds, right, for this system. Now we have ongoing funds. And you have a legislature and a governor who are committed to creating a cradle to career. You know, as long-term as that may seem, that is tremendous progress in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of the highest rates for poverty. So I want to remind us of that because we still need to keep moving forward with the urgency, but there has been progress and the colleges have been pushed to do a lot more. And guess what? We're going to continue to push them.
And I will add to that because what I have been fascinated by is due to this board and the vision and the commitments, the budget is framed every single year using that as the template. And so if we don't get it one year, it's still back on there. In terms of staffing, the same issue. How do we actually have the chancellor's office have the staff that it needs? Every single item said, we need 2 staff here, we need a staff here, we need a half a staff here. All of that is a very holistic approach to what our values are, what our commitments are, and what that budget looks like. And then as the umbrella to make certain that in our task force, in the consultation process, that we're all driving that bus in the same direction, that we're getting buy-in. And those are the stakeholders that are at the table every single month looking at these things. That's what it's taken.
We should ask, I know you'll get to hear from Ben Cheetah today, but an update on Cradle to Career would be an appropriate question to ask during that panel.
All right, if we could go to the next slide. So amidst some of that progress, we do continue to have really substantial equity gaps in that progress. So we're just going to show a snapshot of a few of those metrics. If we could go to the next slide. So this is just the success rate, but it's the inverse, right? So it's looking at students' success rates in their first term by ethnicity. And what you can see is of students who start, how many students don't successfully finish their classes, right? So across their courses, African-American students aren't successfully completing their classes 41% of the time. For Native American students, it's about 36%. Those are opportunities for us as a system to do better, right? We have students that are in our courses that are not finishing, and thinking carefully about the types of things we were talking about earlier. How do we help more students across all of our students successfully complete our courses so that we're not just looking at incremental changes, but we're looking at significant, meaningful changes for all of our students. So this is the success rate. We're going to go to persistence next. So again, remember that persistence that was super flat at 69% since forever, right? So that's the 31% decline of students who are in our colleges. How many come back, or how many don't come back? 31%. But for Black and African-American students, 43% of our Black and African-American students who've come to us and said, I want to enroll with you, don't come back the next semester. Of our Native American students, 40% don't come back. Pacific Islander, 38% don't come back. Those are students who said to us, we think there might be value here, and then didn't come back the next year. Next slide. And this is of all the students who start with us, who take at least one credit course, how many of them finish, right? Remember, it's pretty low. It's 16% someone completing or transferring. Again, we see this disproportionate impact where some students are getting further. We're losing fewer of them along this journey. But the real story is of many of the students that come, you lose most of them before they get to a meaningful outcome, right? They will exit our system before they get to an outcome. Next slide. So where does that leave us? We have some meaningful improvements in the early momentum metrics. For the long term of our system, that's great. We have some modest improvements in outcomes. That's a pretty big change, but a long way to go. We have some enormous headwinds that we are facing as a system for overall enrollment and for any numerical outcomes that we have, right? If we have fewer students, that means we're going to produce fewer degrees and transfers. There's not going to be, as of the percentage wise, will still look better because things are improving, but the number of students who transfer and complete will go down. So it's worth thinking about that because some of our vision goals are numerical goals. So that's going to be difficult for us to hit. And then I think we've all known for some time, we have ongoing substantive equity gaps. So the system that we have is going to have to look very different to thrive as we move into this next period. And so I want to take a moment, if we could go to the next slide, to ask you what the one thing that you think our colleges need to do right now. So I don't know if we want to take volunteers. That tends to be a little dicey. So I'm going to just go around the room. So Member Elizondo, if you'd like to start us off with what was your one thing?
For just like taking away.
What's that?
One thing for taking away from the conversation.
Oh no, what was your one thing early on the conversation that, yeah, so you wrote it down.
Yeah, I was, today, I want to learn more about tech and the online education portion.
Okay. Responsible.
This is what opportunity we want to take action on.
It was, what is the one thing you think our colleges need to do to re-engage students to get them to enroll? But if you want to pivot to one thing you want to take action on, that's.
Can you come back to me?
I can. Remember Korea.
So I guess this is different than the questions that were listed earlier by but just in terms of and this was the question that our
President Haynes.
President Haynes flagged at the beginning. Okay,
Yes.
just making sure. So I mean, I think, and Board Member Shaw and others have hit on this, it just getting a better sense of why people are not staying. And I don't know if we need to do some focus groups, something a little bit different than just the high level data that comes into us from our colleges and our districts. And, you know, that's something that I'm sure you probably have some good thoughts on that, but it's just figuring out how to get to the root of that question of like, why are they not taking a chance on us? Why, and going down another route, whether it's learning from the internet on YouTube or becoming a maker or whatever, or an influencer, you know, why are they choosing that versus us? And segmented, you know, because there are probably different challenges for different communities, you know, that big kind of wheel you presented at the front. And, you know, it's there, those are different communities. There's certainly overlapping demographics, but you know, there are gaps, right, as you point out, between certain populations versus others. So I think it would be interesting to see if maybe next year we could really think about some of the, or, you know, in an ongoing way, how to do more focus group type conversations to get a little bit more into like more into the weeds about, you know, what people are thinking. I don't know exactly how you reach those people who aren't with us anymore, but there's got to be some way to do that.
It's a little bit
From a research
easier to
perspective.
reach people who aren't with us anymore
Yeah,
because we still theoretically have some contact information. The harder group to reach is those that never came to
never
us.
came to us.
So that one's a little bit more challenging. Member Williams?
You know, I think Member Shaw says it, rising tides lifts all ships. If you can figure out how to address the disproportionate impact to students, African Americans, that should have an answer for some of the other groups. But I think we have guided pathways. And so if we would just focus on guided pathways and try to shorten the amount of time it takes for students to graduate. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is people don't want to spend a whole bunch of time sitting in classes, like just to be sitting in classes. And then, you know, we can really figure out our employer connections and, you know, those partnerships so that folks could actually get real job opportunities, or whether it's access to capital so they can start a business, or, you know, whatever it is that they're trying to meet. You know, I think those two things. So address the disproportionate impact with African-American students, you know, full implementation of guided pathways. And, you know, we need some innovation in there somewhere. We gotta chop up that semester system. It's just too long. It takes too long to get a degree. Private colleges have figured it out, and we need to really address it.
So I agree with it, what everyone has said. But I think that we need to do a better job on the front end when somebody either picks up the phone and calls about classes or goes online and enrolls or steps on our campus. What I hear from students are how they stayed is that there's somebody that they've connected with, somebody that they can go to, somebody that has built a relationship, because the time where they actually are ready to leave, really actually ready to leave, there's somebody who catches them, who says, I got you, you can do this. And so that just happened, it happened. We've got to create our institution so that it doesn't just kind of happen here, but it is intentional. And so, because the other piece is, one student I met in an elevator at one of the conferences, and he said, this is my second time around. I was an unknown entity in my classes the first time around. Didn't know anybody, nobody knew me, didn't know what to do. My second time around, I walked on the campus and somebody said to me, do you know about a program? Do you know about Umoja? Do you know about Puente? And they had been on the campus for about 2.5 weeks, but they were ready to go. They were ready to leave again. But it was that connection with others. And so we can have the best programs in the world, but if we don't have the connections, and our students feel isolated, or they get wrong information and don't know where to go, we lose them once again. And so I don't know how we do this piece, but we've got to think outside of the box about doing this piece. How do we touch every student and with the opportunity of engaging in building relationships and the building of belonging, that when it gets tough, because it's going to get tough for our population and our demographics, they got somebody.
Can I say something on that? And because it's a wonderful point. how do we do it in the COVID environment, right? Because and you know, young people these days sometimes maybe prefer to be texting with like a mentor or doing a Zoom or Teams call with a mentor. Maybe that's the way that is best for them, but having a better sense of how you do build that connection so they don't leave. I mean, for me, personal, like an in-person connection matters, but I'm gonna probably have a different generation than some of our students. I don't know, but it would just be interesting to better figure out how you build that connection and you don't lose people. You know, you create that safety net. So, yeah.
And if I could add to that, you're absolutely right. We have a Calbright that doesn't see students in the same way that we do on our campuses. And they've built that internal to the technology of understanding that there are friction points, and when they don't see that somebody's coming onto the program, there's somebody who calls them, see if there's any issues, some concerns. And so that's done online. It's done multiple kinds of ways. So it can be done. And the question is, do we have the will to actually do these kinds of things in order to maintain and keep our students and give them what they need at the time that they need it?
I think that's true across all of our interactions, not just the technology ones. There are always moments in
That's
which
right.
you know a student is not engaging. And those are the moments that someone can act. And so the question is whether or not institutionally do we choose to act on them under those circumstances.
So I think this is a trick question, and the reason why you're asking it is because it's actually an advertisement for the importance of your section. So I think when we're talking about student engagement, we don't know the answer to that yet. I think one thing our colleges can do is get excited about the data. We need the why data, the ability to collect and report out on the data, and we need it timely, because my fear is that we go into the next segment of our agenda with what we're supposed to report out annually on the governor's roadmap, and we don't have meaningful data to drive these programs forward. So I think doing exactly what you're doing, getting excited about data, is one thing that we can get colleges on a to-do list about.
I wish I had that kind of ability to machinate that. I appreciate that. I love it. I hope people get excited about data. And I think that's important. I just want to say that was not the intention of those questions.
Certainly what I took away from it.
Okay. Well, I always love that takeaway. Member Grande.
Will you restate the question?
So the question is, what do you think is the one thing our colleges need to do to re-engage with our students?
Okay, because I'm gonna go really weedy on this.
Okay.
We have a number of students throughout the pandemic who have separated from us taking an EW or a W, or not performing as well academically as they should. However, their only recourse is to start from the beginning again on that class, because we haven't leveraged competency-based education and credit for prior learning in the ways that we should. So when a student decides to separate in the 8th week because we declared on March 13th, 2020 that everyone was going remote and they weren't able to make that transition as seamlessly, making the decision to take an EW, our response to them in fall 2020, spring 2021, fall 2021, go back to the beginning, start on day one, as though you haven't learned anything in the 8 weeks prior to the pandemic. So we really need to leverage our abilities in recognizing what they already know and propelling them to the finish line, and not giving them an ultimatum of you get to take a W or an EW or an unsatisfactory grade because you didn't do it on our timeline.
Amen.
I think I'll go a little weedy on some of this as well. So my short answer is stop doing harm, right? And you're gonna find that by the data. And as I think about this, especially with the populations where we have the equity gaps, right? You can see some of those numbers, and to me, this is just horrifying. And it brings me back to a number of years ago. I was at a Community College League of California convention, and there was a presentation on IEPI and some of the work that our Institutional Effectiveness Partnership Initiative was doing. And there was a thought exercise they had us do, and I would love for our colleges to maybe approach it this way, especially regarding these gaps, which was they had the group of us and they asked us to imagine a scenario where you designed intentionally the worst possible experience a student could have at an institution. But have the worst possible outcome where you are striving for a 100% failure rate and dropout rate. Design that college and what are the main aspects that you include in that? And then they brought us back and we reviewed it all, and they were obviously just horrifying answers. And then they flipped the table on us and they asked, how many of those things are you still doing? And it was an alarming number. And there probably is still an alarming number of things that we know when we spend our time to think about it are creating these barriers, when all we sometimes really need to do is stop doing the things that are causing harm, because then that gives the students an opportunity to flourish and to re-engage. But at the very least, it stops putting the barriers up, because once we stop putting barriers up, then our outreach efforts are more likely to succeed.
Fantastically terrible and meaningful exercise.
It was very powerful and very impactful, seeing how many we actually did.
So I think we have a member Shaw.
Okay, I think, in the last 5 years, we've just made tremendous major effort with the system in terms of, policy mechanisms, administrative changes, legislative initiatives, equity policies. I mean, we've done a lot. But I think in the next 5 years, we really need to understand, I'm going to go back to this, the values of our students. And we need to create mechanisms that address these new values. I think we need to have student recruiters. I think we need to create a cadre of student recruiters throughout the system. And I guess finally, I can't tell you how disturbing it is for me to see that the African Americans are in the same plight of the Native Americans. It's just heartbreaking. And so something has to be done for everyone throughout the system, but particularly these two groups.
Villalobos.
I agree with Member Aguinaldo in that we need to get the community colleges excited about data. A question I have for you, and the reason I bring this up is because just, in our everyday business transactions at work, right? You look at those company business units that are outperforming every other business unit out there, and you take a look to see what those units are doing differently that is driving those positive outcomes. Do we have specific community colleges within our system with great data or metrics that we can take a look at in order to try and figure out what it is that they are doing differently than community college that may not be performing as well?
Yes, Member Shabazz. Oh, that's right. I had to come back to you. Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for more time to think about that. Two highlights that came up in our conversation that struck me were just understanding the why of why students are either leaving or not coming. And also just the sense of the feeling that they've got somebody at the college. And since your question didn't mention any cost constraints, if money were no constraint, I would say every student has a peer mentor. That there's somebody who's maybe just one step ahead, who's employed by the college, and their job is to build a relationship, sort of like a coaching or mentoring relationship with a student to help them just stay engaged, to feel a sense of belonging. And I think that has a multiplying effect, or like a double effect. It helps the student who's being mentored in keeping them there, because there's, just from a affective domain, there's a sense of belonging, and that even though there might be reasons for you to think that you don't belong in college, you do. And there's somebody who believes that and is communicating with you. but it also has an additional effect on the student who's the mentor, because they're part of the college. They're part of the solution. This isn't somebody else's plan for how their career, how they're gonna get into the career that they want. It's theirs and they're doing it. And I feel like we have a lot of people in our community who are more entrepreneurial. They're willing to learn skills from YouTube instead of coming to college and getting a degree. And so the more we give students an opportunity for them to be part of the solution, I think we would win. It's expensive, sorry.
There are possible non-expensive ways to accomplish those goals, right? These have all been fantastic. One of the things that we are doing in the system is we're working on a system-wide survey of students right now. So not quite focus groups, but of students who are currently trying to enroll, what's stopping them from enrolling more. Of students who previously were enrolled but are not, what would it take for them to come back? And we're trying to figure out ways to cooperate with some of our K-12 partners to see, where are there places we can identify students that we could contact, possible students, but who have never been students that we could contact. That's a little bit tough. But we have some national data on that. So if we could go back to the last part of the slide deck. So people do ask students about these things. And so when you ask people who have done some college, what's stopping you from enrolling more? So the cost for students is one of the #1 things. Almost every survey you see picks this up. It's life balance, right? How do I manage this amidst everything else that I'm doing? Stress and anxiety, fear of failure. But then there are other things like, what is this going to mean for me economically? If I do this, is there going to be a job at the end? And then one of the things that you guys mentioned was like, if I'm doing this, is there a path that's clear to the outcome, right? And so when they look at these uncertain paths, they're like, I don't know how I'm getting to where I want to go when I look at what's being offered to me. And so that's amongst people that are already engaged in some education. If we look at, if we could go to the next slide.
Jonathan,
Yes.
that 83% overall students that were not completing, do we know what the average unit accumulation is for that?
I don't know that off the top of my head, but I could find that out. If we could go to the next slide, we're not showing the slide deck, we're kind of in presentation view. I'm not sure who's running the deck right now.
Just continue.
Okay, all right. Let me just, I'll call it up so I can, the next, all right, if we could go to the next slide. Okay, so these are people who've left. What would it take for me to come back, right? What increases the probability, right? So having flexible schedule, meeting students where they have the opportunity to enroll, credit for prior learning, right? Being able to say, you've already done this, you don't have to do it again in order to get credit for it. Financial aid, right? The cost comes up again, work-based learning, confidence in career. So it's, is this going to be tied up into something I'm going to get afterwards? And this really captures a lot of the themes that you guys have talked about. So if we could go to the last slide. So what do our colleges need to look like if we take this all into account, right? We have to have our institutions shift the burden, right? From students having to prove, to bring all the paperwork, right? We have to shift the burden of what it's going to look like from the students to navigate to the institutions. There should be clear and easy navigatable routes to completion that everyone should be able to see. We have to actively address students' basic needs, their mental health, and the full cost of their attendance, right? Again and again and again. Why do students not attend? Because they can't figure out how to make it work financially. Students should be able to enroll in courses that fit their schedule and needs anywhere in the system, right? If we want a student-centered system, a student should be able to take the course that they need wherever it might be so that it fits their schedule and fits their needs. Another thing, and one of the things that this board has been very strong on, is students should always get fair credit for their skills and their experience, always. We've done that with AB 705. We're headed that way with credit for prior learning. But it's not just defending their skills and experiences when they're coming to us, but we also have to make sure they're getting fair credit for their skills and experiences and what they've learned beyond our system. And so one of the things I think this brings us back to is part of all of this work, what this work has always been about, is restoring that core value proposition so that when people think about attending a community college, they believe that it's going to matter. They believe that they are going to complete, that they can see the path to completion, and it's going to mean better outcomes for them. And that's been a core part of the transformation of our system that all of you have led. It's the direction that we've been going. And it's really powerful that we have to continue in this direction for the immediate future. Students have options, students have alternatives, and they have expectations of us. And if we don't meet those expectations, we are not going to meet the future that the state of California needs.
So I know we owe you a break. You're
Yes.
going to see this again, because I think the beauty of the way that today is designed is there are statewide leaders who have seen this national data, this state data. They have seen the national data of what happens when you ask students when they disengage, when they leave community colleges in general. And now they have designed to be partners with all of you. And so that is actually the next part of the session, but we'd like to give you a 5-minute break. And then I'll get us started by summarizing and connecting the next presentation. 5 minutes starting now.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
it's 11:36.
All right, welcome back. I want to make sure that we acknowledge and welcome our guest, Ben Chida, Chief Deputy Cabinet Secretary in the Office of Governor Newsom, and our Executive Vice Chancellor, Lizette Navarrete. So Ben, this is not a normal meeting for us. Our board is really engaging in their first strategy session, so thank you for being here with us. This is the portion, board members, where we are hoping to frame the governor's education, workforce, and economic goals for the state of California. What all of you are going to have to set in terms of a priority and alignment with the vision for success. And it is an incredible vision, so we look forward to hearing about it.
Well, good morning, colleagues, members of the board, President Haynes. Thank you for dedicating today to really strategizing with us. I want to build on a comment that Board President Haynes made, which was a shared sense of urgency. But I also want to see if we can amend that and consider 2 other points: a shared sense of aspirations and a shared sense of commitments. And that's really what this next conversation will be, a shared sense of commitments. And there's a reason that as part of this presentation, we're here joined by our good colleague from the governor's office to show that as a state, we are dreaming big about what we can do differently for our communities, for our Californians, for our students. And so we're going to take a deep dive into this roadmap that we've been talking about and talk about how it builds on the vision for success and the efforts that this board has been leading for many years now. So with that, let me introduce to you our esteemed colleague and guest, Ben Chida, who's the Deputy Cabinet Secretary for Governor Newsom. He's been leading numerous higher education efforts and K-12 efforts. One notable one, which plays into a conversation we had in the prior session, is around data alignment. What we can know and the possibilities of aligning that information, and the also thinking about students from the time they are here in California all the way through their career, making sure that we have seamless support along every step of the way, regardless of the agency. And so with that, let me turn it over to Ben Chida.
Hey, everybody, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me. I'm just going to do 2 things before we kind of get moving into more depth. One is I'm going to give you a big picture overview of all the education vision that the governor has. And then 2, speak to the roadmap and the way where it's situated within that overall vision in partnership with you all. So, first off, just to contextualize, between last budget and this budget, we have like roughly $100 billion in additional spending that historically had not existed. And so to me, the question is, how does each of those dollars actually impact the students on the ground? Like how does that change the lived experience of students? And so let me try to walk you through a little bit of what it will mean from the perspective of a kid moving from cradle to career. And as additional context, I basically cover all things cradle to career for the governor when it comes to policy. And so you see me mostly in the higher ed context, but I also work in the other parts of the journey as well. So here's sort of our vision for how a student's life will be changed 5 years from now, like in 2025 versus right now. So every newborn starting last month has a college savings account open for them. That is a thing that is just moving right now. And then at first grade moving forward, we just did it for all public school students, but on an ongoing permanent basis, every low-income first grader is going to have a seed investment of between $500 and $1,500 put into their college savings account. So you get a college savings account at birth, it seeds only a little, like between $25 and $100 at first. But then if you're lower income, we want to say early on in the educational journey is, we believe your college or career material, we invest in you right now, and this is a shared enterprise for us. And so that's what that's going to mean. Other pieces of the 0 to 3 agenda include much more home visiting, much more subsidized childcare slots. It means more book-rich homes with multilingual books at home, and that's sort of the 0 to 3 agenda. Next is like TK to 8. So TK is notable there in that we're making universal transitional kindergarten. So, when you're going into your K-12 schools in the future, you're going to actually see, a TK classroom. Like that is just going to be a normal feature of California public schools. We'll get kids into the door, into our public education system early. And what we imagine from the perspective of the student is they go to school on a green bus, a zero emissions bus. And these all have investments back behind them. They're going to go to a community school where there's wraparound services and much more higher touch supports from adults who care. They're going to have a free breakfast and a free lunch that's sourced locally. They're going to have recess at a green playground. And then they're going to have literacy coaches, math tutors, and access to after school 9 hours per day, which we're making universal for elementary school students. So that's sort of the TK to 8 experience, how it's going to change in 2025 versus right now. Sort of high school, there's going to be mental health clinics, much more ubiquitous in our schools. Our $4.7 billion for children and youth behavioral health is going to merge more and more into our 0 to 25 education system. So it actually is community colleges as well. But I think for many of us, we think sort of high school students, and we think sort of the beginning parts of when people are really seeking mental health care. And so there's going to be many more clinics, there's going to be more counselors, there's going to be more tutors, there's going to be academies and pathways that are focused on careers at the high school level. And we're, as you know, promoting dual enrollment because we think that trying to merge and break down the sort of different silos or make less stark the jump from one system to another is a really important sort of objective to try to drive towards. On the post-secondary side, as part of the compacts and the roadmap, we're going to have more seats at the UC and CSU. They're going to be increasing them year over year for the next several years. So that means more transfers as well. We're going to be addressing this post-secondary student is going to have affordable housing. We have $4 billion going to affordable student housing, and cheaper textbooks is what we're trying to drive towards, attacking those underlying cost drivers. And then in addition to that, in post-secondary, they're going to have more access to financial aid, the expansions of Cal Grant, and also middle-class scholarships, and also access to paid internships to do things like learning aligned employment. And then finally, on the pipeline into the workforce, the career part of Cradle to Career, we're going to have many dedicated pipelines towards climate, education, and healthcare, especially because we think those are frankly existential crises that are facing California, and we need to have the workforces to power those solutions. And so you'll see many more of those. We want to expand more apprenticeships. The governor has a goal of having at least 500,000 apprenticeships by 2029, which we're driving towards. And all of this is gonna get consolidated structurally at the regional level, not just up here in Sacramento, through different structures that we're building out, including things like the K-16 regional collaboratives and the Community Economic Resilience Fund. So these are all different things that from the student perspective, we should expect to see changed in the next 5 years. There's ongoing investments or massive one-time multi-year investments that are intended and designed to actually make that change. And so that's just to kind of situate you into what to expect. A lot of this is going to impact community colleges because hopefully if we have students who have the mental health services they need in high school and who have their basic needs met in high school and all of that, that means they're going to be more ready to enter into our community colleges and be ready to be successful students. So that's sort of the sort of state of play there. All of this aligns to the degree attainment goal, the 70% degree attainment goal by 2030, because to me, it's sort of the 70% is a goal. It's a North Star for us to drive towards. But frankly, the how is very, very complex, as you all know. It has to do with mental health, it has to do with basic needs, it has to do with financial aid, it has to do with, providing intensive academic services, and it has to do with creating a pipeline into the workforce. It has to do with inspiring students. It means a lot of different things, but the 70% is sort of our North Star that we're trying to use to direct energy towards across all these different programs and forms. You can switch over to the next slide. Let me tell you how we were thinking about the roadmap specifically and how it fits into this whole vision. So, one of the things I like to do is work backwards from the impact on the student. And so here was our sort of theory of the problem. Like, we knew that there's great work happening across the board, but our theory of the problem was that there were essentially three challenges that everyone was facing, and we were all kind of like, tearing our hair out about. Number one is a lack of empowerment of key leaders, which is both a matter of funding and staffing in my view. So, what we heard over and over is the lack of a year-over-year set of investments that could actually serve and enable these ambitious sort of strategic plays. And so trying to create that stable funding was a big rationale or impetus for our compacts and our roadmap. Also, as you know, on staffing, we believe very deeply that we have to empower the Chancellor's office and all the leaders and doers who are going to be driving this work. We have to give folks the capacity and bandwidth they need to actually deliver. And so that was another priority for us. So number one, the big problem that we saw was a lack of empowerment, and our roadmaps and the compacts were intended to try to solve for that by creating predictable multi-year funding and additional staffing capacity. The second big problem that we saw and we continue to see is a distracted ecosystem, which is to say that, and by the ecosystem, I define it as everybody. So media, stakeholders, advocates, us, everybody, legislators. And I would say that we do tend to get distracted by bright, shiny headlines, the brand new report. Sometimes what's weird too in this space is that I'm sure you will feel this, but it's like people get very tactical as well. They get into the guts and operations of the systems to be like, hey, this thing should change. And it's like, in our views, like that's the governor and my sort of opposite approach, which is, in my mind, you have experts in each of these verticals, in each of these spaces. You have to you have to let the experts lead. You have to empower them. And you have to, at times nudge them. But at the end of the day, it's like, your system's the best. Your campus level leaders know your system's the best. And so, trying to jump in with a brand new game plan is frankly a recipe for failure. And so for us, what we do see is a distracted ecosystem. And what worries me a bit more is, we're gonna have many new legislators who are each gonna have their own ideas of what brand new, silver bullet they think is really, really needed at this moment. And so in my mind, the roadmap and the compacts are a defensive mechanism for us too, because what it enables us to do is say, hey, we hear you, and maybe we will adjust and iterate here and there. But like, before you scrap the game plan, take a look at the game plan. Let's try to work on this together as opposed to have a new game plan every couple of years. And so that was another reason for the roadmap and trying to create that defensive impetus. And what I'm saying is also, it's not just you all alone, like having to fight off all the advocates. What we want to say with the roadmap is the governor's there too. We're gonna be there in the legislature, everywhere, being like, hey guys, like back up, like give everyone some space to actually, give everyone some runway to actually be able to deliver on this stuff. And so that's the sort of second big problem that we saw and the second big solution. And then the third is difficulty of aligning leaders, both horizontally and vertically, right? So like one of the things that I heard a lot in the compact negotiations is like, I talked to UC and they say X, Y, and Z, the community colleges say X, Y, and Z, CSU's X, Y, and Z. And it's just like, part of it is just aligning our agencies horizontally. And that includes also the agencies under, the governor's authority. Like we are not, exempted from this critique either, in the sense that like LWDA, state board, all the different folks who intersect with the community colleges also have to be there to, deliver and to partner and to collaborate and to expedite things when they need to be expedited. So that's a sort of horizontal alignment. And then vertically, I do not envy the challenge of you all, which is, it is, the analog I bring to it is I work in K-12 a lot, and it's like we have 1,050 schools, we have 58 county boards of education, 1,050 school district, school boards, we have 1,200 charter school boards. It's like a very split up governance structure, and you all have a variation of that challenge as well. And so another big element for us was, how do we make sure that we could work with you to amplify the vision down into the vertical, into the campus level? How do we inspire and motivate? And how do we work with you all to make sure that whatever we're saying in Sacramento actually reaches and is, part of the ground truth actually throughout our communities statewide? Because it's not getting down to the ground, it truly does not matter. So that's sort of the thinking there. For us, it's not at all, just to wrap this piece, it's not at all a silver bullet. It wasn't at all sort of the idea of, here's what the governor thinks you should be doing and start doing it right now. It's very much more from, I would say, a approach of humility of saying, look, we get it. We're not in the day-to-day work of community colleges, either at the Sacramento level or at the campus level. You know your systems best, you know your people the best. And so really the proper role for us to be a value add as the governor's office is just to be partners and say, okay, here's where we're all trying to go together. When you need one of our agencies or CSU or UC to kind of nudge it a certain way, ask, and then we'll try to see if we can nudge them in that way. And it's like this type of little problem solving here and there that's going to make us successful over time. And in my mind, what the roadmap represents is it is just a vehicle for us to get this alignment horizontally and vertically, and to also make sure that we are keeping everyone's eyes on the prize, which is actual lived impact on the ground, as opposed to the next bright shiny thing that everyone is going to become enamored with. So that's some of the rationale, that's some of the sort of vision that the governor sort of thinking around education. That's how the roadmap, that's why we wanted to move forward with the roadmap. For us, it's not just about sort of, setting the goal feels very good, whether it's the attainment goal or any of the goals in the roadmap. But at the end of the day, it's like, for us, it is just a vehicle for driving delivery over a multi-year timeline.
Thank you. So we'll go to the next slide. Ben just walked us through how the system can be different. Walked us through how we can work together. And really that concept is in collaborating and having these shared goals and leveraging expertise and that the benefits of these partnerships. So let's talk a little bit more about what we've identified as some of these shared goals. Next slide, please. And if they look very different, it's because they're so aligned with the vision for success. And if you saw Dr. Hetz share in his last comment and last slide of how can the system look differently, what are students saying that they need out of our system? One of them was around flexibility and schedules that adapt to them. And what is that in end result for students? It means a reduced time to their degree, a reduced time that they're away from their families, away from livable earning wages. It means that we can close equity gaps in partnership with all of you, with our campus leaders, with our students, and help us in that design. Improved educational outcomes so we meet that promise and commitment. Intersegmental collaboration so that we're not talking past each other with our segment partners, but we're really thinking through how we do things differently. Higher education has been immensely disrupted. And it's not going to go back to the way it was. That disruption is felt at every level. In some ways faster, in some we still don't know the ultimate impact. And so working to establish clear transfer pathways and finding that value add will continue to be important. Let's go to the next slide and we'll share some of the opportunities that we see. Ben highlighted one that is instrumental. You'll hear us talk a little bit about when we engage our students, but it's around redesigning data sharing agreements with our partners at the UC and CSU so that we can understand both our successes, but also our improvement points. And the other piece is the vision for success is embedded throughout the roadmap. So let's walk through that and what that means. Next slide, please. So for the Board of Governors role, you play an important role in creating these conditions for implementation of the roadmap. So I want to take a moment and talk about these. We want to move, you've been pushing us to move in the conversation you had earlier in these various sessions that we've had. You want us to move away from just compliance to really be catalysts. You want us to not just, give you processes every time you meet, but you want us to think about how we stay student focused. And you don't want equity to be a project. You want us to institutionalize that. We've seen that in the regulations you passed, in the comments you've shared. And then, and more importantly, we want to be student-centered in every single one of our actions. Next slide, please. And so as we delve into these roadmap goals, I want you to think about your role to create the conditions as board members, create, again, these catalyst conditions. Think about these two questions. And you may or may not have to talk about these later amongst yourselves. So think about these two questions. Which multi-year roadmap goal are we most prepared to lead in and why? Which multi-year roadmap goal will we need to prioritize and learn more about in the coming months? And that's so that we can not only work amongst ourselves to gather the data that is needed, to learn from our campus leaders about the strategies that are on the ground that are working or are showing promise. And so we really want to delve into that second question so that we can be prepared to have important conversations. Next slide, please. So let's delve into their 4 key commitments and goals within the roadmap to the future. Again, are very aligned with the vision for success. And these categories of work really help us organize our work ahead and build off of where we've been in the vision for success. And so we'll talk about improving educational outcomes. Next slide, please. So under improving educational outcomes, the vision for success has a 2022 goal that the system, through the hard work of our campus leaders, our students, faculty, and staff have been making great progress of reducing time to degree. The roadmap pushes us, it asks us to be bolder by moving further, essentially committing us to continue to focus on this goal through 2026 to decrease medium units to degree in the excess of 60 units. Why 60 units? That's what typically takes a student to transfer. We want to keep students as close to that. And the average right now is around 87. So we want to bring that down in alignment with that goal to reduce time to degree. Next slide, please. We also want to focus on improving placement to transfer level English and math, because that also aligns with goals of completing degrees and credential. Tremendous research, extensive research, I should say, around this value. And then you heard our colleague Ben from the governor's office share the commitment to increase spots for our students at UC and CSU. And so the roadmap has a commitment to increase the number of students transferring annually by 35% and relative to the enrollment growth at UC and CSU. Again, very aligned to what we saw in the Vision for Success, but asking us to continue to stay focused on that through 2026. Next slide, please. And then the last one I'll highlight on educational outcomes is to annually publish the 2-year associate degree graduation rates for all community colleges. This is a commitment that we've made to share that information so we can see that as a stretch goal. And we can also disaggregate that data by underrepresented students, by Pell Grant recipients, by disabled students, so that we can facilitate and evaluate equity gaps that we need to address as a system, and how we can strategize around average UNIS degree, again, aligned with that overall goal. Next slide, please. Let me pause there. Any questions about that one before we move on to advancing equity? If not, I'll move forward. All right, so under advancing equity, there's some very aligned work. So let's go to the next slide. You see that under the Vision for Success, we had an aspirational goal of reducing equity gaps by 40% and fully closing equity gaps by 2027. The governor's office, the legislature are very equity focused. And so they're joining us in partnership with this important effort. And again, pushing us to be bolder, to go further, and providing partnership and support in this and working. So what we'll do is compile a baseline that's building off of the system, the state of the system report that was just recently published, so that we can identify where equity gaps exist and build on that and continue to strive towards closing those gaps. Next slide, please. We also want to improve completion rates for transfer students. Again, unit to degree completion, reduce that, particularly for Pell Grant students, historically minoritized students, disabled students, all again by 2026. So almost parallel, just asking us to go further, because the reality is that Californians don't have time to wait. Next slide, please. Let's talk about intersegmental collaboration. We mentioned this, you heard that in the remarks around a big opportunity. So next slide, please. What does that mean under the roadmap? Under the roadmap, that means to collaborate with UC and CSU to utilize data, utilize various tools so that we can get that granular information to drive equity conversations and equity actions. And so that also means establishing, striving to establish a shared admissions platform. Board Member Williams mentioned that it's complicated for students to just enroll in our system. And so it's complicated for students to enroll in our system, to enroll in transfer systems, to track their progress. So the way that this vision is looking at, really pushing us to try to think of something new, a way that's more streamlined, that really doesn't mean that we each have to have our own separate platform, that we begin strategizing together on how we can make it easier with the end user, which is our students, using and simplifying these various platforms for them. Next slide, please. And I can't reiterate this enough around intersegmental collaboration. We mentioned that part of an opportunity is better agreements that allow us to analyze our successes and improvement points. What are two key pieces that we want to look at? One is student level data on California Community College applicants to UC and CSU and what admission decision that they get. Why do we want to know that? We want to know that because we want to know who's being left out, who's being admitted, how can we help them, where are their gaps, where are there issues that need to be resolved between our systems collaboratively. The other is what happens to our students once they arrive, what's their academic persistence, what's their performance, so that we also can better understand their overall trajectory and how we can collaborate to make sure that they reach their ultimate educational goal. Next slide, please. Last but not least, want to talk about supporting workforce preparedness. Next slide, please. Here we'll look at the full continuum of education on how we can prepare a student to be successful in a career, in their ultimate goal, from the moment they start in education in California. And that means that we support both dual enrollment and the access to dual enrollment. Many of you may recall when dual enrollment was a system that was exclusive to students that were already scholastically advanced. It was literally in education code that it was limited to a certain percentage of students that were selected that were academically advanced. We want to dismantle that system, make it accessible to all students who can benefit from them, their choice to benefit, and we want to welcome them through unconditional belonging at every point of the education system. And so some aspirations there. And then in your last conversation, you asked the important question of why are we not counting what students come with? The credits, the skills, the learning that they have. We have some opportunities to establish a baseline for credit for prior learning and increase those offerings annually. So the benchmarks here are really to start measuring this and then build on that in future years. Next slide, please. And then we want to increase the by 15% the existing students who earn a living wage. This aligns closely with the Vision for Success and also a metric under the student-centered funding formula that looks at ensuring that students are not just earning a degree, but have a market value for that degree or credential. And an emphasis based on market economics in this state. We're seeing a lot of progress and opportunities for our students in high need fields such as education, where we have a teacher shortage, healthcare, technology, and climate action. And so the roadmap is really encouraging us to start thinking about workforce partnerships in these areas because they're a need for the state, but we also know that they can lead to important careers for our students in the future. Next slide, please. And so now I want to pause and have a conversation around, you heard, I briefly said that we may or may not have these questions. So I want you to think about these two questions. This group on the side, on my right, if you can work as three, and then this group on the left, if you can collaborate, and then this group ahead, if you can think about these two questions and discuss amongst yourself. I'll give you 3 minutes. Which multi-year roadmap goal are we most prepared to lead in and why? And which multi-year roadmap goal are we, and do we need to prioritize learning more about in the coming months? And for our board members attending virtually, you can also discuss amongst yourself, and I'll set a timer for 3 minutes to keep us on track. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's see.
I don't know. You know what? Once I saw those numbers, I've just kind of been numb.
I know. Yeah, I know. Over 40%, and by far the highest percentage of all the populations.
Yeah. So I don't know what, what do you think? What are your thoughts overall?
In terms of the two questions?
Yeah.
I mean, based on where we are right now,
it's gonna be hard to meet anything, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the roadmap now. both the Vision for Success goals and the governor's roadmap. And for some reason, the one that stands out to me is the median units to completion in excess of 60%. Of 60, I'm sorry, by 15% of the units. I mean, there's a couple. I think the baseline for credit for prior learning, it's a very important one.
Don't have mine in front of me.
So, oh, here we go.
So if
Well-
it'll help, I can read them actually out to you again.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
Okay, so the first one is reduce time and units to degree. Second is close statewide equity gaps. Third is improve educational outcomes. Fourth is support intersegmental collaboration and data sharing. And last is establish clear pathways to transfer and careers.
Well, you know, based upon those numbers, I'd say equity gaps. I'm just still stunned.
Definitely, that's definitely one we need to prioritize. And we
Yeah.
need to learn more about in the coming months. I'm so shocked by what you said regarding the number of African-American males at Compton College.
Yes. And then the whole thing of the last segment is, you know, we're on par with the American Indians. So, you know, why is that?
Virtually as well.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues.
Thank you very much for, I hope you had good conversations. We will have a short lunch break after this, and I hope that you'll consider continuing these conversations. This isn't the first or the last time you'll hear us talk about the roadmap. We've made a commitment to our state leaders. We've made a commitment to our students, more importantly, and to the Californians who entrust us every day with their hard-earned resources, that we want to make sure that when a student walks through their door, they can leave with that goal and aspiration that they came to us. And so I would ask for a couple of volunteers to share, you know, either